So welcome everyone and thank you very much for being present today. I hope you can all see and hear me clearly. If not, just leave me a message so we can adjust the technical issues. Unfortunately, due to personal reasons, Mrs. Avram could not be able to attend and moderate the event, but we came up with this last minute solution of me replacing her in order to be able to take the opportunity to have this roundtable discussion on a topic of the utmost importance for her as SEArica Vice President in charge of the Black Sea and the Danube portfolio, and also in order to allow us to discuss and come up with tailored and concrete proposals to tackle marine litter in the region. My name is Sabin Chogna, I'm Mrs. Avram's assistant, and on her behalf, I would like to thank the organizers for the tremendous work in the last couple of months on the one hand, and on the other to welcome the participation of our today's experts and officials. Mrs. Avram also sends her words of gratitude to Mr. Horia Teodorescu, the president of the Balkan and Black Sea Commission, and also the president of Tulcea County Council for the co-organization of this online conference. Let me briefly remind you the format of our event. So in order to be able to give the floor to all our guests today on behalf of the coordination team, I kindly ask you to concentrate your points in about 3 to 4 minutes. In order not to encounter technical difficulties, it is highly recommended not to use PowerPoint presentations, which would cost us time. All the panelists will be introduced with 1 or 2 questions, and if there are some other, we will keep them, of course, for the exchange at the end of our session. And let us keep our mics off unless delivering a speech in order to have a smooth running of the event. Now, having said this, I do not want to waste your time anymore. So if we are ready, let's jump into our today's topic, namely, how does a regional mechanism contribute to tackling the problem of marine litter in the Danube and the Black Sea region, and of course, follow our agenda. Today's conference aims at providing a dialogue platform amongst EU, regional, and national policymakers and key stakeholders to encourage a debate that will allow for the better understanding of the challenges as faced by stakeholders on the ground and the different opportunities that derive from the various EU policies, strategies, and initiatives in this diverse but fragile region. In order to do that, our today's agenda is divided in 4 main sections. Firstly, we will have the regional perspectives. Secondly, we will jump in and discuss the skills for prevention marine litter. Thirdly, we will look into several regional projects in the field. Fourthly, we have booked a slot for an exchange with representatives of the European Commission, more specifically from DG Mare, DG Env, DG NIR, but also with representatives from the EU Strategy for Danube River and the Managing Authority from the Ministry of Development and Public Works and Administration in Romania. There couldn't have been a better way to start our first panel today than having a general overview at the Danube River level. In this regard, the International Commission for the Protection of the Danube River, which is the ICPDR, works to ensure the sustainable and equitable use of waters in the Danube River basin. ICPDR's work is based on the Danube River Protection Convention, which is the major legal instrument for cooperation and transboundary water management in this basin. The legal basis for this international cooperation is the Danube River Protection Convention, which applies to countries whose territory within the Danube River basin comprises more than 2,000 square kilometers. ICPDR comprises 15 contracting parties who have the same goals, namely the implementation of the Danube River Protection Convention and the cooperation on fundamental water management issues, and of course, to improve the quality of the Danube River and its environment. The contracting parties include Austria, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Germany, Hungary, Montenegro, the Republic of Moldova, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Serbia, Ukraine, and of course the European Union. On the 29th of June each year, the 14 above mentioned countries of the Danube River Basin jointly celebrate one of Europe's greatest river systems, along with its people and the wildlife they rely on it. Due to the various continuing restrictions on public gatherings as a result of the global COVID-19 pandemic, 2021 Danube Day celebrations remain partially changed. However, the member countries rose to the challenge to keep the Danube Day spirit alive throughout this global crisis and continued in that same spirit, even in 2021, with waste removal and litter actions, among others. But more about the spirit and about the Danube Day, we will find out right now from Mr. Ivan Zavadsky, the Executive Secretary of the ICPDR. And I take this opportunity to ask you, Mr. Zavadsky, how do the 14 countries of the Danube River Basin and the EU cooperate in order to overcome this problem of Danube litter? And most importantly, what would you need from the EU frameworks? Mr. Zavadsky, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody. And let me start with thanking to invite ICPDR to this important meeting, because as we all know, marine litter is a global problem. So it's not only the problem of the Danube and Black Sea. So, but what I would like to thank you, first of all, a very good introduction who we are. So you save a lot of time from me to introduce ICPDR, but I would like to underline at the beginning that you mentioned the Danube River Protection Convention, but this is the only river basin or a freshwater river basin convention which stipulates in the legal framework of the convention the responsibility and the commitment of the contracting parties to look also after the environmental quality of the receiving water body, which is the Black Sea. So, as I said, marine litter is perennial problem and covers all the world. But what we also know that most of the litter reaching the ocean is from the rivers. So that's really where the responsibility of the countries sharing the international basins, which all of them at the end in this or that sea or ocean are responsible. So I think you are asking me what ICPDR is doing about that. And I think there are two issues which I can highlight now. First is that ICPDR is entrusted by the contracting parties to develop a Danube River Basin Management Plan following the prescription and the requirements of the EU Water Framework Directive. Despite the fact that this plan is not specifically dealing with litter, with the waste and garbage, of course, proper management of water resources, proper organization of all the works around that to keep the Danube cleaner means that this is also in the heart of our institution. Secondly, you also mentioned and kindly introduced our Danube Day. The Danube Day is celebrated every year because of the date of the signature of the convention, 29th of June. But what is the content of this what is action? And I would like to say that there are three issues. What Danube Day is used in our basin is for awareness raising, secondly for education, and also we organize the concrete campaigns. So these events at the Danube Day, which covers in normal year, not now in pandemic, I'm coming back to 2019 earlier, hundreds of events all around the basin, up from Germany down to Ukraine, with tens of thousands of participants in different type of activities. And mainly, what I would like to mention is that this is to help the people to understand the necessity of their daily action, how they maintain, how they look after the everyday activity like waste management and waste collection is at the end of the day impacted on the quality of the river, on the water they drink. So I think what's important is that these cleanup campaigns and promoting the cleaner river is necessary part of the entire marine litter reduction policies. And of course, I would like also mention one issue which the moderator didn't mention. We have a specific activity related to a young generation, because we all understand that the future of any environmental problem is in the hands of the youngsters. So therefore, the ICPDR also organizes a Danube Art Master. This is a competition amongst the school kids who every year put together a piece of art connected to the river, based even on the materials from the river. And I remember one year we have a specific theme develop your piece of art from the garbage you find on the shore of the river. So this is another important tool of awareness raising and educating of the young people to understand that we all share the responsibility of the amount of untreated or uncollected waste which ends up in our rivers and later on through the transport of the rivers in the ocean from which we all depend on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zawadzki, for your concise and clear intervention. Let me address you one more question, because you have mentioned the tremendous and constant work you put into this direction by raising awareness, education, and cleanup campaigns. The hundreds events you organize, the 10,000 participants that you can gather. How has the situation changed over the last years? Because I imagine you can also keep track of the changes, of the real changes that you can see from one year to another.
I would say there are quantitative and qualitative parameters of measurement of the progress. If we look at the quantitative parameters, I think the quality of the rivers, the size of the protected areas along the river, the reconnected floodplains, the reconnected arms of the river, we have hard figures which show that the progress is made. If I come to the qualitative assessment, it's coming to our campaigns and our let's say other activities. I think this, I would say, the awareness raising is growing, and you just can also check one of our 4 social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or LinkedIn, where we work actively with the stakeholders in the basin, and in this, let's say, area, we also have some quantitative statistics, how the number of people and institutions interested in the work of the ICPDR is growing year by year. I think I answered your question.
Indeed, Mr. Zawadzki. On behalf of Mrs. Carmen Avram, thank you very much for your presentation today, for being part of our conference. And let us all hope that one day you will be able to put up a museum comprising all the pieces of art made up of garbage from the Danube River. And hopefully by then, the garbage in the Danube River will be just a sad memory. Now, moving on the 31st of October, we'll celebrate the International Black Sea Action Day. Why 31st of October? Well, because on the 31st of October, 1996, 25 years ago, the Black Sea countries signed the Black Sea Strategic Action Plan for the rehabilitation and protection of the Black Sea. This plan defined the policy measures, actions, and timetables required to achieve the environmental objectives of the Bucharest Convention. The Black Sea Strategic Action Plan recognizes that collective action is required from all Black Sea countries to reduce the impacts of pollution on the Black Sea ecosystem. And this action is required from all stakeholders as well as from each person living in the region. So a few days ago, on the 31st of October, the Black Sea Action Day commemorated the 25th anniversary of the signature of the Black Sea Strategic Action Plan. It was the perfect occasion of reaffirming the promise of a better future for the 16 million people from 6 countries dwelling off the shores, a good opportunity to remember the commitment of the regional governments for serious action to make a real difference to the rehabilitation and recovery of the sea, and also the remembrance of the work of so many people who devote their time and energy to help protect the environment. This is why Mrs. Irina Makarenko is joining us today in her capacity as Pollution Monitoring and Assessment Officer, coming from the Permanent Secretariat of Commission on the Protection of the Black Sea Against Pollution, which is the Black Sea Commission. Let me remind everyone that the Black Sea Commission is the regional body designed to implement the Bucharest Convention signed by the 6 coastal countries in 1992. Mrs. Makarenko, how do the 6 countries of the Black Sea Basin cooperate in order to overcome the problem of marine litter? You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, dear colleagues. And thank you so much for this lovely introduction of our activities. I would like to thank you for this chance to talk on behalf of the Executive Director of the Black Sea Commission's Permanent Secretariat. And I also, using this chance, I was actually pleased to thank you for all your efforts to organize this distinguished event. I would like to say that the marine litter is indeed a burning issue on our agenda. It's not only for Danube, but also for the Black Sea. And I would like also to congratulate everyone with the Black Sea Day. Thanks for describing why 25 years ago we get here in Istanbul and sign this first strategic action plan, and why we celebrate now in different regions in the Black Sea coast this important day. As it was mentioned, I represent the Black Sea Commission, which is for almost 3 decades is playing a major role like a regional sea convention. And initially we were actually covering only marine pollution control. But of course, because of so many challenges that we are facing, we are now putting on our agenda the other issues such as biodiversity, such as integrated coastal zone management, climate change, and of course the marine litter. And you know, answering your question, so marine litter was not always on our agenda, but still during the last years we managed to put it on our agenda. We managed to involve different partners, and as some of our major, I would call, recent achievements was the adoption of the regional action plan on marine litter management in the Black Sea. So now we are one of the regional sea conventions who are having such plan. We also elaborated marine litter monitoring guidelines, although they were not yet adopted, but this is actually a subject of discussions by all our stakeholders in the region. And I wanted to mention that all this was elaborated within our collaboration with Mediterranean Sea, in line with the Memorandum of Understanding. So this is how important marine litter is becoming for us. And initially, when we signed this MOU with Barcelona Convention, we were planning to increase interaction and also to exchange some information between our regions. But with years, it became a very powerful instrument. So for the moment, we are meeting annually and we are discussing, and we actually all the time elaborating a joint working plan, and this is all about marine litter. So because, you know, one thing is to elaborate the document, to manage to adopt it on the regional level, and of course now we are seeking for some assistance from different partners who will help us to implement it. And we also dealing with other global activities relevant to marine litter. We are members of the UNEP Global Group on Indicators. We are members of the team for World Ocean Assessment Report 2, and also within activities on the Sustainable Ocean Initiative. So all these initiatives I mentioned, they have dedicated marine litter chapters or activities. So we are trying to be active there. And of course, we are maybe not that active in terms of spreading the knowledge and wider campaigns in the region, but for that we have very many good initiatives by the European Commission. We have very active NGOs and of course very active scientific institutions in the region, and we rely on them in terms of spreading the information about the marine litter in the region. So what else I wanted to mention? Just a couple of days ago, we signed a new agreement with the UNEP MAP with some more actions on marine litter. So we are very much excited about this, because this will deal not only with elaboration of documents, but with some concrete measures in how to fight the marine litter in the Black Sea. So I hope I answered your question, and once again, I would like to congratulate everybody with the Black Sea Day.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Makarenko. May I ask you, could you please name a few of the concrete measures that you're going to take in the near future as part of the recently signed convention, maybe?
I was wondering if you mean the measures which are in the action plan, or those that we elaborated within the agreement with the Barcelona Convention?
In the action plan, I mean.
In the action plan. So We have some actions on the fishing gear, and that would be implemented within our collaboration with the GFCM. We also have a memorandum of understanding with GFCM. Another one is also relevant to cetacean conservation and also marine litter related activities under the plan. And also within the plan, actually all countries are supposed to elaborate their national action plans on fighting marine litter. So first, on our agenda is to collect all the national plans and to create a regional instrument, and then later on to elaborate the smaller action, which of course include also the public awareness and many other issues. But as a regional organization, we are supposed to harmonize the approaches. And so this is our main goal under the agreement. Under the agreement with Barcelona Convention, we will have some pilot projects with 2 out of 6 countries which are needing some actions the most, and we will also have some more concrete workshops, some concrete actions that will help to implement the regional action plan on the national level.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Irina Makarenko. Let us hope that the implementation now will raise to your expectations, and congratulations for the great work. Moving on now, the Common Maritime Agenda for the Black Sea is a sea-based initiative that aims at supporting regional cooperation for a more sustainable blue economy in the Black Sea, and it is developed in the broader framework of the Black Sea Strategy. The Republic of Bulgaria, Georgia, the Republic of Moldova, Romania, Russian Federation, the Republic of Turkey, and Ukraine are the participating countries. The CMA is a unique framework of regional cooperation on the blue economy, and it was endorsed on 21st of May 2019 at ministerial level in Bucharest during the Romanian presidency of the Council of the EU. The CMA is complemented by its scientific pillar, the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda for the Black Sea, which is the SEArica project, supported by the Directorate General for Research and Innovation of the European Commission, DG RTD. The CMA sets 3 goals: healthy marine ecosystems, innovative blue economy, and investments, and of course, 10 other priorities further decline into actions. DG Mare accompanies the process as a full member of the steering group, where each of the 7 countries is represented, while the political coordination is ensured by the ministerial meetings. The CMA implementation started in 2020. The Republic of Bulgaria was the first coordinator of the CMA, and the Republic of Turkey took over the CMA coordination for 2021. Georgia will be the coordinator for the next year, namely 2022. The Conference of Peripheral and Maritime Regions, CPMR, participates as observer in the CMA steering group meetings and the Black Sea SEArica working group meetings. I now open the floor to our next 3 experts, on the one hand in their capacity as members of the 2nd coordination team of the Common Maritime Agenda from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Turkey. We have with us today Mr. Yunus Emre Ozitski and Mr. Bartu Unlu. On the other hand, covering the scientific perspective on behalf of the Black Sea Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, we have with us today Professor Dr. Baris Alioglu in his capacity as Black Sea Connect Project Coordinator, coming from the Middle East Technical University Institute of Marine Sciences, Turkey. Now, as an open question to all of you, it'll be interesting to find out which are the Common Maritime Agenda's proposal in order to deal with the marine litter. And if you all agree, I allow myself to introduce Mr. Yunus Emre Ozitski. So you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues and friends, first of all, thank you on behalf of the CMA Turkish coordination team for this year for your invitation to this meeting. The question, sir, you have asked requires perhaps a brief depiction of what the CMA is and is not, and how it operates. It is, as you summarized, a gathering mainly among the Black Sea countries and the EU, aiming mainly at promoting, on the basis of the Bucharest Ministerial Declaration of 2019, the blue economic cooperation in the region. It is not a rigid international organization, so has no presidency. even not a secretariat, but an instance mechanism, and a yearly coordinator country. It takes all decisions through consensus of its members, and it operates through projects within its operational framework, which would be consented to and participated in by all its members. It seeks common benefit within the framework of the blue economy through these projects. As such, it is rather a fertile ground, as for now, to explore and produce projects in this direction. And blue economy covers a very large spectrum: maritime transport, maritime safety, tourism, research and development. Professor Sarioğlu will take soon the floor, are but a few main examples. Assuredly, addressing environmental issues constitute an inseparable part of the blue economic cooperation, therefore the mandate and the aim of the CMA. Marine litter is unquestionably an extremely important part of these environmental issues, also in the Black Sea region. So the CMA is in principle open to work on this topic as well, if relevant projects emerge, initiated by any CMA member and endorsed by the rest, by the others. CMA is, as you have been with us during our meetings as observer, is open to the cooperation with other regional and international mechanisms. And to CMA meetings, many such mechanisms kindly participated. Of course, they may and have done so, propose possible projects of cooperation which are to be related to the existing projects or events as well, and which may become common projects with the consensus of all CMA members. So, marine litter, the topic of today's meeting, is indeed directly or indirectly through the area of interest of the CMA initiative. Still, if such cooperation projects emerge within the CMA, they may emerge through cooperation and participation of other international mechanisms as well. So I would like to reiterate the need to see the CMA as a fertile project ground which can include, which should include indeed the topics, urgent topics such as marine litter, that constitute a common interest and common problems of the CMA members, Black Sea countries. So thank you very much. I think it constituted an indirect answer indeed to your question of CMA's approach to the marine litter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Klawosicki, and thank you very much for this distinction of what is and what is not a CMA. I will now give the floor to Mr. Bartu Unlu, and maybe we'll keep some more questions for the end.
Sorry, Batu Ünlü is part of the Turkish coordination team. So he is one of my colleagues. He is not here.
Okay.
You will give the floor, I think, to Professor Salim.
Of course. Then let's move to Professor Salioglu. He's a present constant in our meetings. Welcome back, Professor Salioglu. If we can hear and see each other well, I pass you the floor.
Thank you, dear Chair, and I would like to extend my gratitude to the Vice Chair of SEArica and my colleagues in CPMR and ICBSS for this event and for their kind invitation. I believe this is a major event to support more resilient, healthy, and more productive Black Sea. And Mr. Özyici has very nicely summarized the CMA activities, and as being the research and innovation pillar of the CMA, I would like to go over how Syria addresses the litter problem and what's underway. And as the research community, I would like to underline that we regard the litter problem as part of the pollution problem in the Black Sea. There's a major pollution problem in the Black Sea, and the litter problem is part of it. And it's not possible, research-wise, it's not possible to understand the effects of one stressor alone without considering the others. Today, Black Sea is under a big risk of deoxygenation, and the main reason of this is the pollution. And the anoxic waters are approaching the surface, and this poses a major risk to the Black Sea. And as researchers, we have adapted a holistic approach towards the pollution problem that includes the litter. And as the Connect project, which is responsible of the implementation of the SEAria, what we are doing is that we have developed an approach under three topics. So based on this, we have already adopted an implementation action on marine plastic. So one of our first implementation joint actions was on marine plastic. And what we are doing is that, firstly, we take the stock of marine litter-related projects and institutions that worked on this in the Black Sea to see what has been done and what's missing, to avoid duplication of effort and to create synergies. As a second step, as already expressed by our first speaker, the importance of young generations, we have launched another joint action, which is our Young Ambassadors program. And our young ambassadors are running a basin-wide social media campaigns to raise awareness on the Black Sea, and they will soon conduct national level activities on marine litter. And one of our young ambassadors, Gizem, will also join the meeting and give her vision on this. And based on these outputs, we are planning a basin-wide conference on marine plastic in the Black Sea. And under the SEAria pillars, we have several priorities that addresses the marine litter that we will address under this transnational joint action. And one of them is addressing eutrophication, deoxygenation, pollution, including litter. And the other one is promoting marine litter management techniques. And once we reflect these priorities, we see that marine litter is really a cross-cutting subject, and it affects the resilience of the marine ecosystems. So any research that goes on resilience of the marine, on the marine ecosystem resilience should consider marine litter, and finding circular and nature-based solutions towards the problems in the Black Sea definitely considers marine litter. Even the digital ocean, producing a digital digital twin of the Black Sea should consider litter and its effects. And effective surveying and sampling towards marine litter detection is also needed, and that's another priority that we consider here as part of the SEArica objectives. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Salioglu. Since we will be soon having an exchange of best practices from other sea basins, I would like to ask you, and of course, Mr. Ozici as well, you remind us about the unique characteristics of the Black Sea region with the anoxic waters, and to find out that the pollution will only add to this anoxic level, which approaches the surface, could only raise our concerns, because this could have a tremendous impact on the wildlife, on the ecosystem, and ultimately on us all. But since the Black Sea has some unique specificities and characteristics, have you identified other, I don't know, best practices coming from other sea basins that could be well implemented, even theoretically, even at this research level in the Black Sea region?
Yes, definitely. Even at the stage of developing our initial SEArica, we have benefited from the other basins, because when we have started doing this for the Black Sea, the strategies in Atlantic, Baltic, and Mediterranean were already established, and they were great guides for us. For example, in BlueMed, there's the plastic pilot, and all the countries contribute to this plastic pilot. And my institute is one of the hubs in the Mediterranean that's carrying out this in the Mediterranean. So definitely we have benefited from that, inspired from that. But as you have also said, Black Sea is unique in many other respects. The plastic litter does not affect the Black Sea in the same way as it does the other basins. So it needs to be considered in a holistic matter. And not only the other basins, but also major policy initiatives such as the European Green Deal, Mission Ocean, and the lighthouses there, which will be mentioned today, I believe. And the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership has inspired us. And when we are developing our goals, we definitely consider them to be better integrated to the international policies and ongoing programs. And Black Sea is strongly taking part in these. And as I have mentioned while answering the previous question, when we look at all these different strategies, we see that research towards more resilient ecosystems, conserved biodiversity, and developing circular and nature-based solutions definitely emerge as the priorities of all the basins, which also applies to the Black Sea.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much once again, Mr. Ozici. Thank you very much, Professor Salioglu, for your intervention and for your answer, because your answer leads us basically to the next intervention of our conference today. Specifically because the exchange of best practices and lesson learned are extremely important in our way forward to overpassing this problem of marine litter in the Black Sea and the Danube River. Let us take a look at the Adriatic and Ionian macro region, because the CPMR Balkan and Black Sea Commission's membership goes beyond the Black Sea, with members also coming from the Adriatic Ionian macro region. Actually, the region of Western Greece is an active CPMR BBSC member with lessons learned to share from both the Mediterranean and the Adriatic Ionian sea basins and their respective programs. This is why, on behalf of Mrs. Carmen Avram, I welcome now the presence of Professor Ioannis Kalavrosiotis, the President of the Regional Council of Research and Innovation of the region of Western Greece, a CPMR Balkan and Black Sea Commission member region. Professor, you are in charge of safe use of water and environmental protection. Could you please give us some concrete examples of good practices that could be replicated in the Danube and the Black Sea region, for example? You have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning to all of them. First of all, I am Professor Ioannis Kalavrosiotis. I am the president of the Regional Council of Research and Innovation of the region of Western Greece. And from me, and also Mr. Fokion Zaimis, which is the deputy governor of Entrepreneurship, Research and Innovation in the region of Western Greece. Congratulate to all of them about this very interesting conference or workshop. And I am very happy to participate from Western Greece in this important event. Here it is the Western Greece. It's one of the regions in Greece. And to explain the role of the regional authorities and good practices about the wastewater reuse, wastewater and environmental protection, including the biosolids in the Western Greece. The regional authorities in this region are responsible for protecting and maintaining the good environmental quality of the region. The authorities are assisted by the Committee of Research and Innovation, which advises the authorities as to the practice, measures, and the actions to be taken with respect to environmental and relevant problems of the region. It must be mentioned that this region is a protected one under Ramsar Agreement Convention, as it has Mesologi Lagoon, which is the biggest one of the Europe, and the regional authorities are extremely careful in protecting its biodiversity and its quality. As far as the treated municipal wastewater reuse in Greece, a very small fraction of it, maybe 8 or 10%, is being applied in agriculture, usually is non-food crops such as cotton, while 92% is drained into rivers crossing this area. We have big rivers in this region, such as Achelos River, Ladonas and Pinios in Ilia, torrents, and of course in the sea, which is the Ionian Sea. It is very close to Adriatica Sea. Similarly, only a very small fraction of biosolids is being reused in agriculture, and most of it is currently being incorporated into the control landfills. The Greek consumers are not as yet ready in accepting agricultural products produced under the effect of the wastewater processing plants outputs. Nevertheless, the relevant research in Greece related to reuse, which is being conducted since quite a number of years, aims at establishing a database that could be used whenever the society will be ready to consume agricultural products under the effect of the above inputs in agriculture. For the time being, the irrigation of crops is done with the use of clean, fresh well water. It is the controller water. In relation to the above research in Greece, here in Patras, in the Hellenic Open University, we have a research team has made a software, a computer program that is the name is Decision Support System, targeting at the safe reuse of wastewater and biosolids. This decision support system has built in such a way that helps the farmers to reuse effectively the above inputs, being informed continuously on the level of possible toxicity, so as to take the necessary measures to prevent unfavorable effects on the growing plants. It is a clever decision support system and offers many other services, such as control of soil pH and of soil salinity. Also advises the farmer to accomplish optimum fertilization of crops. It informs him as to the time of fertilization, the method of application of fertilizer, and most of all, it helps him to decrease the crop fertilization costs and at the same time to attain maximum yields. In conclusion, this software helps the farmers in Western Greece and of course in other parts of the Europe, making the protect the environmental quality of agricultural ecosystem. This is a very important for the other countries to use or to reuse the wastewaters and biosolids in agriculture, basically. Of course, we have a last point to present here in this very important event. What doing about the microplastics in wastewaters and in biosolids? And what doing about the microplastics in the soils after the reuse of the wastewaters, or to use the farmers in the small greenhouses in this region. This is a very important to continue this research, because in Turkey, with neighbors scientists in Turkey, we have these problems, similar problems about the microplastics after the wastewater use, or in the crops after the cultivations, such as the watermelons, such as tomatoes, and the other crops to use the small greenhouses. This is a sort of good practices, a part of good practices to use in the region of Western Greece about the wastewater and biosolids use in this region. Thank you very much.
Professor, thank you very much. And on behalf of Mrs. Carmen Avram, since she's also a full member of the Agriculture and Rural Development Committee in the European Parliament, I would really appreciate if you could share with us some more outcomes of the research project that you have conducted. And also one question for you, because it seems that it is not just the synergies with other countries needed in order to change something in terms of marine litter in the Black Sea and the Danube River Basin, but also synergies with other sectors like the agricultural sector. I would like to know from you if so far any other member states have asked for the software that you have been talking about, and if from your knowledge is implemented, used in any other member state. And if you have conducted also studies in terms of the concrete impact of the microplastics in the food production system. I mean, could you observe any modifications in terms of the tomatoes, for example, that have been grown with water, with improper water, versus tomatoes that have been grown with this kind of clean waste water that you're trying to promote?
Yes, thank you very much for your question. It's a very good question. It is two parts about my response of your question. The first, it is about the decision support system. We have two editions about this software. After 4 years to work in my lab with my colleagues about this software. This software, it is now in Greek language, in English, and I hope before the end of 2021 we have the edition in Chinese language, because we have a lot of scientists from this Asia part in the world to use this support system, decision support system. We have one edition for the universities about the education. This is the free to send to all of them the site, including the site, and to open this decision support system free about the education. If any one to prefer to send this software, it's a free, and I am very happy to use in your universities, etc., or in the other authorities. But we have another edition, which is the very include with many parameters about the environmental protection, such as about the concentrations of wastewater and biosolids in the different micronutrients, micronutrients, heavy metals, etc., which is a very important parameters about the environmental quality. And of course, we have in this software included about the fertilizer in the crops. What's what is the demands of fertilization to use in the crops, such as tomatoes or other crops? This is very important, and for this reason, I send you to the coordinator of this event, this useful information for my lab, and it's free to send to the other colleagues. The second response of your question, it's about the microplastics. This is from me, it is very important last years about these microplastics in wastewater treatment plants, including the biosolids. And for this reason, we have in the end of 2020 finished and editing a book from International Water Association organization. The title is Water Microplastics in Water and Wastewater. This is a international wastewater book, and in this book included maybe 10 chapters from different parts of the world about the case studies from different parts of the world about the microplastics in water and wastewater. It's a very important theme from me about the microplastics in the sea. and it's about the environmental quality, because we have the opportunity to cleaning very well the wastewater in wastewater treatment plants about the microplastics. And this to send this information about the good practices to to coordinator, Mrs. Carmen Avram, maybe, to circulate in the other persons. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Ioannis Kalavriziotis, for your concrete best practice, let's say, for the detailed answers, and good luck with the research project in the near future. I'm looking forward to exchanging with you soon.
Sorry, the last comment from me, it is, I hope next meeting, next event to have a live in Turkey or in Greece or in the region Greece, welcome, or everywhere, but after the finished the COVID-19. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully the pandemic restrictions will allow us to hopefully meet in person. So this is why it's vital to always keep an eye on the big picture. And since we just covered the best practice in the Adriatic and Ionian macro region, let us now jump up into the north, because we have said it already, the CPMR goes beyond the wider Black Sea area, covering all sea basins surrounding Europe and the EU islands. Last June, for example, the North Sea Commission of the CPMR co-organized with the province of North Holland in Netherlands, an active CPMR member, the international webinar Waste-Free Rivers. This event resulted in an incredibly high interest from 85 participants from 20 countries and 12 different time zones. It was an interesting and interactive webinar that provided insight into the problem of plastic pollution and how rivers play one of the biggest roles. Unfortunately, rivers have in fact become plastic highways and are responsible for 80% of all land-based waste, which ends up in our seas and oceans. Plastic is a wonderful product, but with a polluting downside due to the way we handle it. And as a result, the ocean is becoming a plastic soup, which doesn't only end up on our beaches, but also in nature and recreational areas, in our cities, and even in animals. During that webinar, inspiring initiatives, solutions discussed in an attempt to solve this complicated puzzle. Who is responsible and who takes responsibility? That was the overall theme of the webinar back in June. The Waste-Free Rivers webinar confirmed that we are facing a shared problem, and therefore the solution is too. Nobody has a single key to solving the problem of the plastic soup. All parties have a responsibility and a piece of the puzzle in hand to act. An actual puzzle was therefore put together by 7 parties in the form of commitments for concrete actions in the coming year. It was a highly interactive meeting with many interesting speakers and plenty of room for questions. We all have to step up and play a role in ensuring that all stakeholders in the entire chain in the plastic system, from manufacturers and producers to government leaders and consumers, are held accountable to the common goal of ending plastic pollution. The CPMR North Sea Commission will keep working on this topic as described in the North Sea Region 2030 strategy. Now, from the regional minister from North Holland, the Netherlands, and member of the CPMR North Sea Commission, Mrs. Zita Pelsch, was supposed to join us, but unfortunately, due to personal reasons, she is not available today, but she is replaced by her advisor, Mrs. Jolanda Schmal, advisor on circular economy from the CPMR North Sea Commission, Public Administration and Strategies, European Affairs. Mrs. Schmal, if you can hear us and see us, you have the floor. And we have prepared a question for Mrs. Pelsch, namely, how do you succeed to raise awareness in your region in order to tackle this issue of marine litter? You have the floor.
Thank you for the introduction, Chair. Yeah, and good morning, honourable members of the European Parliament and distinguished panelists and participants. Indeed, unfortunately, Regional Minister Zita Pels is not able to attend this meeting due to personal circumstances, and she would like to extend her deepest apologies. She has asked me to deliver her message on her behalf. Yeah, I'm Jolanda Schmal, Policy Advisor for the European Affairs and Circular Economy, and an active member in the CPMR North Sea Commission. So first of all, Ms. Zita Pels wanted to thank you for inviting her to this meeting. She was really thrilled to participate in this meeting and share her experiences with you. It's an important topic for her because marine litter is a daunting and complex problem. And like you mentioned, nobody holds the single key to solve the problem, but we all have a piece of the puzzle in hand to act. So Zita Pels is Regional Minister for the province of North Holland, responsible for, among other topics, circular economy and sea harbors. And she was invited to speak here as a representative of the CPMR North Sea Commission. And she is convinced it is a very important topic and important to focus our attention on several aspects of the problem, like raising awareness and removal and recycling, monitoring, and of course, prevention. So the province of North Holland indeed is an active member, and we have identified marine litter as one of our top priorities. And in response to the question, I would indeed like to inform you about what we are doing in the province of North Holland. So in our region, we are committed to a waste-free society and waste-free rivers. We argue that low-grade use of plastic should be banned as soon as possible. They do not belong in a circular economy. And as a provincial government, we therefore stimulate companies with funding and programs to innovate their products. And one of the examples to raise awareness and coordinate a joint approach is our active approach in the CPMR North Sea Commission, which resulted in a waste-free rivers webinar we organized last June, as you said, in my region. Unfortunately, we couldn't organize that live as either because we were actually supposed to go fishing for litter. But still, it was a successful event, indeed, with participants from over 20 countries and 12 different time zones. And together with all relevant actors from national level to local level, from water boards to waste treatment companies, and from regional levels to our sea harbors, because it's obvious to all of us, I think, that we need to work together to tackle this problem. European rivers flow through many countries before finally emptying into the sea. And if we are to have any chance of effectively addressing river litter, we need to think outside existing boundaries. Essentially, cooperation is not only needed across national boundaries, but across various levels of governance as well. So this is how the province of North Holland raises awareness and motivates and coordinates joint efforts to better deal with the problem.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jolanda Schmal, for delivering the intervention on behalf of Ms. Pels. Good luck with your work in the future, and hopefully we'll see each other soon, just for us to be able to hear some more feedback from your future events.
Yeah, I can still, of course, elaborate on what we are doing since the waste-free webinar, if you...
And it'd be really interesting. I wanted to ask you.
So yeah, the North Sea Commission is working to achieve waste-free rivers by developing a joint project, which is what I wanted to mention next. Which was a direct effect of the waste-free webinar with speakers from OSPAR and the Clean Atlantic Project, Friends of the Earth, and a new innovation called the Great Bubble Barrier. And the webinar confirmed indeed that it's a shared problem, and building on the shared urgency expressed at the event, we decided to capitalize on the results by sharing and starting a project development phase. Because for far too long, we have used our seas as dump sites for waste, and the focus of our webinar, and therefore also for our project idea, is on the biggest source of the problem, rivers. And fighting marine litter is, of course, a complex challenge, because who is responsible and who takes responsibility? And as you mentioned earlier, none of us holds the single key, but we do all have a piece of the puzzle to act. And that was actually perhaps one of the most interesting results from the Waste-Free River webinar. There was an acknowledgement about each of our own particular role in the fight against marine pollution. And we all have a different piece of the puzzle, but it also allows us all to take specific action on our own levels. And so we have started to think about several topics in our project, like for instance, one, innovative solutions for collecting litter from our rivers. And I noticed some inspiring examples in the chat earlier. Second, data collection on the nature and origin of waste in our rivers. Third, to focus on prevention as well as behavior change. And the fourth, governance and responsibilities for a coordinated approach. And as I mentioned, we are in the developing phase of a project proposal, so we're very much looking forward to hearing if there's any interest to join. We will actually have a project stand at the joint CPMR North Sea Commission's and Interreg North Sea Region Programme annual event in Bruges on November 24th to share our first ideas. So it's a key event, but unfortunately, I was informed that the entire event is fully booked within the first few days with over 100 people on the waiting list. But yeah, I think it's obvious proof that all of us can't wait to meet each other in person again. But we will, however, be able to share the digital forum we have developed to find out if there's an interest to join our project idea. And you can also check out our latest news article published last Monday on the CPMR North Sea Commission website announcing our project idea. And you can, of course, always contact us and the CPMR North Sea Commission's Marine Resources Group, where this idea was initiated, about other ways to further exchange and cooperate. So again, very sorry that Zita Pels couldn't be here today, but she's eager to see what comes out of this panel. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Yolanda Schmal, for your intervention. Fortunately, the event is fully booked and we are all looking forward to hearing the outcomes. Good luck with your future work.
Thank you.
These days from 29th of October to 5th of November, the EU for Ocean Coalition has been organizing the Let's Make the Black Sea Blue event. The aim of the event is to give visibility to all relevant Black Sea marine-related communities, including schools and pupils, teachers, marine science educators, stakeholders from marine-related sectors, NGOs, youth policymakers and government representatives, public institutions, researchers and academia, conservationists, entrepreneurs and other ocean professionals, as well as general citizens. The event will bring together and discuss ongoing activities of the EU for Ocean Coalition and its communities in the Black Sea with a specific focus on maritime litter, which is the thematic group of the Healthy Ocean. We'll give specific space to the interactions between Black Sea youth ambassadors and young ocean advocates, and will of course facilitate discussions on bringing the education on the Black Sea into the classrooms with the relevant stakeholders. Kicking off at the Black Sea Action Day with the Ocean Literacy Festival activities, launching the project of the Young Ocean Advocates, and finishing with the panel discussions on how to move forward concrete initiatives in the Black Sea Basin, is a great opportunity to make pledges for the Make EU Blue campaign. The CPMR, BBSC, and ICBSS participated in the opening on 29th of October and let participants know about the SEArica event. But on behalf of the EU for Ocean Coalition, we have with us today Mrs. Olga Mashkina, the EU Ocean Coordinator coming from Acteon from France. And on behalf of Mrs. Carmen Avram, I would like to send her words of gratitude for the event, for the campaign, for the pledges already displayed on your website, and for facilitating this forum of discussions. Allow me to give you the floor by asking you, what are the results of the discussion so far, although the event is not yet done? You have the floor.
Thank you very much. And the same as previous speakers, I'm very happy and pleased to be taking part of your event. And thank you for already a good introduction for our Blue Week at the Black Sea. Maybe I just start by saying a few more words about the coalition for EU for Ocean, because maybe not so many people are familiar with it. Because in fact, in previous speakers, we're talking about bringing the pieces of puzzles together in order to solve the problem. And I think one thing we've been talking about, we didn't yet name the term, is what gives all these puzzles maybe another light, is the ocean literacy, because ocean literacy is something that is maybe a newer term to what we known as awareness, outreach, education. It usually concerns schools and maybe understanding the basics. But in fact, in the last few years, the ocean literacy received a more proactive, let's say, tint, and then we really start understanding, and it concerns all of us. It concerns all the people, so everybody should be involved. Everybody should understand the importance the oceans and the seas have for humans, and what is our impact on the oceans, and not to just have this knowledge passive, but to actually act about it. So all of us can make an action, can do something what can protect and better preserve the oceans. And in the speeches today, it was very amazing to see what kind of different activities and actions have been already taking place in the Black Sea. And from my side, to bring maybe a more European experience and the best practices, just to say that in the EU for Ocean Coalition, we have 3 different streams that, again, these are these pieces of puzzles, as you wish, which brings the 3 different communities, the experts, the people who already work professionally with the oceans, researchers, different organizations, policy. We have the big community which targets the young people, because these are our future. They have a voice, they are active. So it's a Youth for Ocean Forum. And there is a 3rd community, which is a growing community of the European Blue Schools, the network of European Blue Schools, where in fact children in the schools, together with their teachers, come up with a project which will help them to understand more and to do something in the school year to carry out this project together with the local community, with the youth, with the local stakeholders, and to become a blue school. So these 3 different communities work together. And in to go back to your question, in the Blue Week at the Black Sea, these 3 communities have met together. And in fact, to go back just one maybe step back, the European Youth for Ocean Coalition is active on all sea basins, because it's across Europe, and we already have had the sea basin event to mobilize the people from all these 3 communities in 3 other sea basins. So we already had the event at the Atlantic and North Sea, at the Baltic Sea and Mediterranean, and last week, indeed, last Friday, it was the event kicked off online, unfortunately, at the Black Sea. And I'm happy to see some of the speakers today who were on our panel on Friday, and to say that the event is ongoing. There is a Blue Week, and your event fits perfectly into it, because I see many participants who will present after, and who will be also part of our discussions tomorrow. So what you have already said, that on Friday was a kickoff meeting where we heard from different speakers on what they do and how they plan to include ocean literacy on their agendas. We kicked off the campaign, which is the Make Europe Blue, the campaign which was launched by the European Commission last May, and now it's traveling across different seas. So we already have tried to make the Mediterranean bluer, try to make Baltic Sea bluer. So now it's the time to make the Black Sea more blue. And the campaign has also started, kicked off last week, and it's going on right now. I think maybe some of my colleagues can post the links in the in the chat, where you can see, if all of you who are present today, you can also make a small step to make the Black Sea bluer with whatever small action that you can take. It could be anything at everyday level, like we were talking about, to stopped using the plastic, that you engage with the research project, that you do something with the school, with the young community. So it's all very, very important, and it is very proactive, that it's something that is important as an action where everyone puts their effort, and then our puzzle becomes complete. So we all working to make the Black Sea bluer. To say the event, so is also a big part of it, is the Ocean Literacy Festival, which was our way to celebrate the International Black Sea Action Day. So it's ongoing. It started on Sunday, and if you'd like to know the results, I invite you all to attend our event tomorrow, which will be online. It will have, first of all, the 3 sessions, 3 parallel workshops, each of them related to the discussions in each of the communities. And we will finish up with wrapping up what have our Ocean Literacy Festival gained. In the festival, there are a few activities that are quite, let's say, on the site, I think in Romania, in Slovakia, and in Georgia, I think it was. Yes, in Yerevan, there were plugin activities that were taking place. There's art festival activities. There's a TikTok festival that we're trying to reach all different type of, let's say, communities and audiences, in addition to these 3 other communities that I was talking about. On tomorrow, what I already mentioned, it's also the 3 separate workshops. And the first one is really, really related to the topic that you're discussing today on marine litter. And we will be spending a bit more time looking at specific examples and building connections, and mostly important to see what would be the areas and where we should put priorities, how we should move forward with these initiatives. Because the Europe for Ocean Coalition helps people to come together and make collective efforts. So together we can make the difference. Together we put these pieces of puzzles together. I think maybe this is all for your Blue Week. Again, we're very happy that your event is very linked to the one that we have tomorrow, and we have quite a central focus on the marine litter. And I again welcome everybody to join our campaign, Make Europe Blue. And in fact, this week it is Make the Black Sea Blue. You can follow it with the hashtag Make EU Blue or hashtag Make Black Sea Blue. And I think maybe this is all.
Mrs. Olga Mashkina, thank you very much. And on behalf of Mrs. Carmen Abram, please accept her words of gratitude for taking time to take part in this event during such a busy week for you, we all imagine. And yes, it is luckily that we succeeded to have this kind of synergy between the 2 events. And on behalf of Mrs. Carmen Abram, best of luck with the last couple of hours of your event, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
We are approaching now the end of the first panel of our conference today, and so far we have identified the problem, we have shared best practices, but it would be interesting to find out practical solutions on how to deal with the plastic waste once we take it out from water. Waste-Free Ocean seems to have the solution. It collects and transforms ocean plastic into new innovative products. They partner with recyclers, converters, and brands to make optimal use of available resources and raise awareness of plastic pollution. They are based in Brussels, and apart from the Danube and the Black Sea, they also operate in the Americas, Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. So it's time to have the private sector perspective to see how we could better tackle all these kind of challenges. This is why Mr. Bernard Merckx, co-founder of Waste Free Ocean, is here with us today, and I thank you, sir, for your availability. I imagine the solutions are almost the same, irrespective of the geographical position of a given sea or river, but we would be curious to find out which initiatives does Waste Free Oceans propose in order to tackle marine litter in the Danube and the Black Sea region. You have the floor, Mr. Merckx.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Mr. Chairman, for giving us the floor, and thank you for the kind introduction, because that saves me already a lot of time to do it myself. Waste Free Ocean is an NGO, non-for-profit, but using the expertise of people with a lot of background, both in the plastic industry, but also in a lot of other industries. We also organize a lot of fishing for litter events. And the learning can be divided in several parts. So one of the work what we have been doing, especially in the early days when the topic became larger, we did the basis work. So what is done on legislation level, what is done on the regional levels, where are the bottlenecks, and what's the source of the litter, and why do people litter, and can it be closed? So it was identified not only by us, but of course by a group of people that, for example, landfills very close to riversides are a source of litter. So shouldn't we shut down those landfills? Can we do urban mining and take those landfills out and rework the materials? With fishing for litter, we did a lot of coastal cleanups together with local fishing communities. This has also resulted, by the way, to the European Commission and the European Parliament to allow fishing for litter to be part of the European Maritime Fishery Fund, which is good. It also learned us, and I can only talk in this case first about myself, being with 20 years experience in the recycling and converting of plastics, I was not so much aware that fishing gear was part of a plastic pollution issue. But realizing that and knowing this market and knowing the stakeholders in that market, we quickly discovered that not so many companies, to be correct, 0 companies, were taking care of it. So if you want to solve a litter issue or a waste issue, you need, of course, also the infrastructure to make that happen. Meanwhile, there are 2 companies dealing with end-of-life fishing gear. One is based in Slovenia called Aquafil. They recycle predominantly nylon 6 nets. The second one, in which I'm directly involved, is a company called Plastics in Denmark, which is recycling nets and ropes, because we always talk about nets, but we really have to include maritime ropes as part of that source, back into raw materials. And from those raw materials, it can be converted back into a large number of products. Please visit our website, and there will be also, I think, some slides on the SEArica website afterwards, which will show you a lot of products which can be made with these kind of materials. The basis idea behind it is how can we add value to waste streams? And if already people litter because they don't think the packaging they use around on-the-go material is valued something, how would people value something which is floating around in riversides or in seas or in oceans and look dirty, and why would you then consume it back as a raw material? So that also part of mentality change. So this is also one of the drives which we had from day one, is let's work on bringing very iconic products to the market to showcase that even if things have gone astray and have got an escape, let's say the normal waste management schemes, they still have a value. And fortunately, we have found several brands and a growing number of brands, I have to tell you meanwhile, who are willing to also put their brand names and link them to products made out of up to 100% recycled plastic, which could be a combination of, let's say, 50% waste from land and 50% waste from the waterways. What we try to avoid is that ocean plastic as such will become a commodity, because we should stop having waste and plastic and other types of waste in the waterways of the world. But before we reach that, there's still quite some time to go on. So What did we do from an industry side is we worked a lot with converters. We helped them also to learn to work with recycled plastic in the first stage and also in the second stage. We, of course, partner then with companies going very extreme from zero to, let's say, a high-tech, clean recycling plant, making from obsolete fishing gear back into new fishing gear and new ropes, because that was a challenge. And I hope you've seen some of those press releases earlier this year. By mid-June, we announced the first time that we managed to make, together with partners, a circular rope. So we went from maritime ropes back to maritime ropes with 97% recycling content. So there are these opportunities. The only thing what we still see is that then the market is still reluctant for uptake. So there is still quite a lot of work to be done, but there are good steps. There was a question raised about microplastic, and it may sound strange for people because microplastic is in the news every day today. When we started in 2010, 2011, microplastic was not a big topic. Nevertheless, already at that time, together with the University of Ghent in Belgium, we initiated studies on the potential impact of microplastics on sea animals, in mussels in this specific case, because mussels is, of course, as some of you know, a very well food for Belgium and for Dutch citizens. Nowadays, I was attending a microplastic health summit 2 weeks ago in Amsterdam. So we see that a lot of universities are looking at it, and I think that's a great step forward. What we also saw, because people think microplastic comes from the breakdown of plastic on beaches, and that is certainly partly true. But the largest sources that have been meanwhile been identified are, for example, car tires, and are cigarette butts, and are materials put in cosmetics, and are leftovers of paint when you just put a new paint on your house and you just grab it up. There is leftovers of polymers. So knowing that the sources are different, and also, of course, your work on solutions are changing. Whereas when we started, we tackled predominantly floating debris because still on the work, and this is also why we work with the fishing community. Now, more and more, we of course look at how can we prevent it? Can those products, do we need those products? And if we need them, can they be made in a different way? Can, for example, the textile industry use different types of fibers? Can they use the same fibers but with a higher quality? Can they make, instead of fast fashion, maybe fashion which lasts longer? Can products stay longer? And how can you prevent from microplastics to enter the waterways in the first place? And then if they are there, stop them before they actually go into the seas and into the oceans. So I think the professor already mentioned it. So the water cleaning companies will have a vital role, but also the producers of washing machines or dryers, people who make hoovers, because if you clean your carpet, then maybe this kind of things. And for those who are looking sometimes also in the history of the Netherlands, I'm Dutch, we had a discussion, of course, on the artificial football fields and sport fields, which also are a cause of litter, and not only the rubber granulates which are put on, but the fibers itself also, of course, are a potential source for these kind of microplastics. So there's a lot going on. And as I said, Waste Free Ocean is a non-for-profit. We actually just put one lady now on our payroll for the first time ever. But all the other participants in our network do it for free, and they do it at that time next to their normal jobs. So that sometimes slows down, but nevertheless, I think we have shown, and we are continue to show products bringing to market to make a change. The learnings we did in the Danube, we did cleanups in the Danube the first time in 2012. Then we had to stop sometimes because there was not a lot of political nor industry interest to continue. And then we restarted under the presidency of Bulgaria, and we are still working there. There are connections with other NGOs, of course, in that region, some of which will speak afterwards. I think, Gary, you will certainly tell a lot about this beautiful event you are organizing every year. We are working with the local communities. We are working with the regional departments, the ministries. Meanwhile, we also see a lot of municipalities who are happy to participate, whereas in the early days they were a bit more reluctant. And I can already announce that some new iconic products will come to market by early next year, of which some of the material originates from the Danube region. So follow us, keep track. One last thing, and an important one, is what we saw, for example, in cleanups near the river Rhine in the Netherlands, is that it is so important not only to clean up, but also to document and to collect data. So we work with an app called Literati, where you just make a picture of the litter before you collect it. So that goes into an international database. So we can track and trace the origin of litter, but we can also see the brands involved. We can also see, for example, the role of a supermarket and a nearby school. You can also see, let's say, parking lots near the motorway where on a Thursday afternoon all the waste bins are full, whereas, let's say, the local municipality will come on Monday to clean them. And then, of course, 3 days of litter because of wind or whatever is occurring. So it's not so much about blaming and shaming. It's about learning why do people litter in specific areas more than in other areas. If you look at the gas stations near the highways, they have converted into supermarkets. And people think that the highways are public domain, so they can throw out anything out of their car. Whereas if you do it in a small village, of course, everybody will see that. So there's not enough social control. So these kind of learnings are there. The final remark is, of course, there is also new developments in technologies and also in new materials. There is a lot of debates on so-called oxo-degradable plastics and biodegradable plastics. There is not a clear final answer. For oxo-degradable, I think the Commission already finally abandoned them and stopped them from coming to market. There's still a lot of debate about how degradable are the biodegradable plastics. This is something I would say in the next couple of years we will certainly see. We do see that at least some of those biodegradable plastics do not biodegrade in the marine environment, so they should not come there. And if you put biodegradable plastic in the market, they also should be collected and brought to industrial composting. So there's still a lot to do. There's still a lot of learning to do. And I think it was also mentioned by previous speakers, you can only do it together by sharing information and by working close together. And sometimes also be open to have discussions, which are not always as pleasant, because yesterday I met a guy who used to make the disposable forks and knives, etc., etc. And he lost his business overnight because of legislation. And you would think he would be in panic. And then you see the entrepreneurial role. He said, no, because I think it also was an opportunity for my company. I'm converting my company now, and I'm now making reusable materials. So, and I'm also using things out of bamboo and not only out of plastic. So there is sometimes, of course, also a downside of some decisions, also on political level. There's also a lot of opportunity for innovation. So this was my contribution. There was, maybe you still have a question for me to answer.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Merks. On behalf of Mrs. Kamnavram, 2 quick questions. So firstly, yes, we are all aware of the impact of microplastics and the fact that we unfortunately find them in sea animals or cosmetics and many other sectors that you have already mentioned and talked about. And there is a well-known documentary on this as well. From what you know and from what you have seen so far, are you aware of any research projects in order to develop technologies to get these microplastics from the ocean, seas, rivers once they enter there, and how could they be converted into recyclables on the one hand? And on the other, since we have talked about the role of the young generation in further tackling these challenges, since you have the private background, could you share with us the trends and forecasts of the future needs of the private sector that could help the young generation develop their academic and professional steps? I mean, which are the private sector needs in terms of human resources on the short, medium, and long term, so that the young generation can prepare and adapt to this kind of future trends of the private sector?
Thank you very much for both questions. I will start answering the last one first. When we are turning the European economy, and later on certainly also other economies will follow in the world, we need to turn linear products into circular products. And we need to turn linear production processes into more circularity issues. So what we do need is a lot of people who have technical backgrounds, who are skilled engineers, who are skilled designers, who are inventors, people who can think out of the box, people who don't take no for an answer, people who are stubborn enough to continue when the first, the second, and the third attempt fail. So that's a call to the youngsters. But there's also another thing. I have young children myself. That also means that once in a while you can't do that in 6 working hours. So you also need to sometimes spend a little bit more time in the office until the work is done. So that's for sure one thing. If you design something before you bring it in the market, already think about any consequences end of life. So that's also a call for the youngsters. The third one, and that's about communication. There's a lot of fake news on social media. There's a lot of fake news in internet. There's a lot of real news. There's a lot of greenwashing. I think we also need a generation of youngsters who help us to make the communication in a different way and in a better way. I come from a generation when I was finishing university, we just had one computer on the university. Today, it's all about messaging and communicating. My generation and certainly the generation older than me have some issues by understanding sometimes all the technical possibilities of those solutions. So I think also there the younger generation can help us to make that extra mile and maybe translate our messages into a language which can be better understood by the youngsters of today. Then your first question on microplastic, yes, there are a lot of researches going on all around Europe and also outside of Europe. So far, there is also a lot of, especially startups, looking at potentials to take out microplastic from rivers or from waterways. There are ongoing discussions with water cleaning companies and water companies. What we do see, it is sometimes very difficult for especially small scale or startup organizations or even SMEs to get access to extra funding. What we also see, if there is funding, it's often funding to work from, let's say, TRL 6 to a TRL 8, but then there is no support to actually invest and go through the valley of death. As you may know, a lot of new technologies take time to get economically viable. And I think that's also something where the politicians and the European Commission may need to reconsider some of the way they are sponsoring research programs. I can tell you from firsthand, as I said, we have invested in this fishing gear recycling plant in Denmark. It took us more than 6 years to go to break even. And in a normal investment, that makes companies like these hardly bankable. So it's also a way of looking differently on how to bring new technologies to a state of economic viability.
Thank you very much, Mr. Merckx. Hopefully we'll stay in touch in the future and we'll share your.
Look forward to that.
Well. Now, with the private sector's input, we reached the end of the first panel of our conference, namely the regional mechanisms and perspectives, and we move straight forward to the next section of our webinar, the skills for prevention of marine litter. And Mr. Merckx helped us to make this transition into the second panel with his detailed answers. Because this phenomenon called marine litter happens, it's a fact. unfortunately. But now we have to understand how we could prevent this phenomenon. And for that, in the second part, we will focus on the perspective of the maritime universities of the Black Sea and of the Plastic Pirate Citizen Science Project. But before that, let me remind you that the Black Sea Association of Maritime Institutions is an international organization created in 2010 by 6 Black Sea countries with a specific aim to become the most important supplier of highest quality maritime human resources in the region. The 6 Black Sea region countries provide about 20% of the total existing seafaring officers worldwide, sharing far bigger ratio in management level officers, and they will continue to be the main seafarer supplier to the world. Based on the respective virtues and values as a national tradition in each country in the past, the 6 Black Sea countries are globally recognized as one of the most important regions which will continue to supply such qualified maritime human resources in the 21st century. Technological developments led by information and communication technologies in all areas of human activities will integrate all the existing systems into one whole bigger and complicated system. Knowledge and innovation will be, therefore, the key elements of such system in which the global maritime system is an essential subsystem. Therefore, the competence and proficiency requirements for maritime human resources will inevitably become higher and far more complicated in the future. The Black Sea Association of Maritime Institutions is chaired by the rector of Pirigais University from Turkey, Professor Dr. Ogal Erdogan, and Professor Dr. Taner Albayrak will share with us today the university's perspective for prevention of marine litter. Professor Albayrak, thank you very much for taking part in our conference today. Thank you very much for your upcoming intervention. I'd like to ask you on behalf of Mrs. Carmen Abraham, basically, which skills are important to have in order to tackle and prevent marine litter? We are listening to you, and I am passing you the floor now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Actually, you promoted Basami in a very well and very good words. So nothing left me to say too much, but I will try to contribute to the topic as well. First of all, as you said, Basami is composed of all Black Sea littoral maritime universities. Almost all universities in the Black Sea area are with us. And as it looks like from the outside, we are mostly focused on maritime education and training of seafaring officers, but some of us are also full universities, as we have departments of maritime trade, economics, faculties of law, and dealing with the maritime law, and engineering faculties. So from the skills perspective, I would like to say that we have 3 levels of skills that we are concentrating on in all these our faculties, not only seafaring or shipping operations. So there are basically technical, operational, and human element issues that we are trying to tackle. For example, when we say technical, it starts the marine pollution, environment protection, including marine litter, starts from the design of the ship, like the waste production or waste elimination, like incinerators or segregated ballast tanks or anti-fouling systems, or any material used to design of the ship is important for the marine pollution. And it goes up to the end of the ship, to the recycling of the ship or scratching at the end, which should be done again also environment friendly. So this is a topic that is handled by the engineering faculties for the most environment friendly ships, and also under the digitalization and automation of the ships, more digitalization is coming into the view. On the other hand, again, I will address it as a technical issue that the maritime industry is regulated by maritime laws, mostly by IMO, except by all countries worldwide. And obedience to these rules and enforcement of these rules are also very important for the application. So these are the generally more important skills for environment protection from our side. And for the operational point of view, we have to have a very efficient ship handling. This is since the beginning of the maritime profession, the safety and security for clean oceans, as IMO's motto says that efficient use of ships are very important, because during the maneuver, if you are not making a proper maneuver, you not only pollute the water, but also the air with the excessive use of fuel or engine uses. Therefore, the operational training in our site is very important for the prevention of pollution and helping the environment protection. And as you said, the seafarers of the Black Sea are almost 20% of the world seafaring, and ships are not limited to one area. So whatever we do in the Black Sea community also serves to the all oceans of the world for their existence and safe and cleaner operating environments. And the third element is the human element, which is the main thing that we are trying to develop in view of new trends, and especially under digitalization and digital technologies that the students are supposed to be focusing on. And from this aspect, because our students not only work on board the ships, the seafaring ones, but in the future, they will be working at the flag states, port states, the coastal facilities, Coast Guard. So they will be the ones who will be enforcing the marine pollution regulations. So from this approach, we are also dealing with several projects, and not only within the Black Sea Basin, but also partners from Baltic Sea, like Finland, Lithuania, Adriatic and Ionian Sea, and the Western Mediterranean, like French Maritime Academy is partner in some projects, and CPMR is also core partner in all projects and disseminating our outcomes in a very effective way. I would like to thank the CPMR here also. Mainly to deal with these issues, we have started from the top. First of all, we have one project for the future managers semester program that we are working on now with partners from Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, and also our maritime communities like municipality of Piraeus and Maritime Cluster Bulgaria, as well as Turkish Maritime Cluster. So with the direct needs of the industry, we are developing maritime business management master program for the future managers that will work on the either shipping companies, NGOs, or government offices with management responsibilities to look at the things from the top in a holistic way and to increase awareness for all involved communities. And this program will be concluded shortly, and the results will be shared by the community and anyone who is interested, and the program will be open for anyone who would like to have master degree on this area. The second one is directly related to maritime skills, which is called soft skills or maritime. And actually, within the new trends, the soft skills are gaining more importance than the technical skills. This is directly related to self-management, like stress on board ships, which is the main causes of accidents, and the oil spills or other pollution which are coming from the shipping industry is barely the result of these soft skills issues. And now we are also dealing with this one. And the third project, among many projects, I'm just emphasizing these three. The other one is which is called Blue for Seas, again, partners from Romania, Bulgaria. And as I mentioned, not only limited to Black Sea, but for benchmarking and exchange of best practices. We have partner from Lithuania and France. So basically now we have a pilot training program in our university at Peripheral University in Istanbul. And the partners, both teachers and students, are now subject to this pilot training. And once we complete by the end of this pilot training, we will start to produce the rest of the training program, and it will be also shared by all involved. And this is basically what we do, not only, as I said, for the seafaring side, but those who will work any part of the maritime industry that will be contributing to the prevention of the marine pollution, including the marine litter.
Thank you very much, Professor. I dare to ask you on behalf of Mrs. Kangana, you talked about the project, or the ongoing project involving the Black Sea countries. Which is the main gap that you have identified concerning these skills in this region? So which is right now the main gap, the main difficulty on the one hand, and on the other hand, is to talk about digitalization and all sorts of other things like that. Which is the contribution of the actual European framework in the context, of course, of the Green Deal and its strategies, helping you to better prepare the future seafarers and train the future maritime professionals?
As I told you that our main focus is the seafaring or the shipping operations and port operations to some extent. I could say that the gaps are reducing every day, because in the past, the ships were one of the main sources of marine pollution, but with the recent traditions and recent legislative and regulation issues, the shipping became one of the most safest, but we still believe that there is a lot to develop, especially from the gas emissions from the ships. And we are still working on that. Even we have a good waste management on board the ships to prevent marine litter, like incinerators, but even we are worried about the gases coming out of the incinerators. So we are strictly working on that and following the new scientific developments, and also trying to contribute these scientific developments in a better way to reduce these gaps. But the main thing is, according to me, actually the awareness of all involved in a holistic way. Now, there are lots of regulations in different parts, but the basic thing is that we need to increase awareness. And within our social responsibility, we are all located the coastlines as the nature of our university. So starting from nearby communities as a part of our social responsibility, we will not only provide education and training programs for our students, but also for the community and industry at different levels, including young children. That should start from the beginning, and everyone should be aware of this. In the Black Sea area, more than 160 million of people are depending on the sea, including fishing or coastal tourism. That's the only thing they need to survive. So they should be aware about the importance of the sea that we are trying to reflect in all programs. And for the digitalization, as I mentioned before, the things are getting digitalized, but the digitalization or automation brings some problems with it, which makes people forget the manual things. So we are trying to cover that areas as well. And all our initiatives are under the EU Green Deal, actually blue growth. As I said, the Black Sea is too much dependent on the blue economy, the blue growth. So first trying to bring awareness on this under the umbrella of the EU blue growth and blue deal programs. And with the digitalization, we will try to make our best contribution to the community.
Thank you very much, Professor Tane Albayrak, for your contribution and for your answers to our today's conference. Yeah, it's an interesting balance that we have to all bear in mind, the fact that with the new skills, we might forget the old ones, and maybe this is not necessarily desirable. Thanks again for your time. The fascination for the ocean and rivers, together with their importance as a guarantor of species diversity, know no bounds. But plastic pollution on beaches and riverbanks in Europe also doesn't stop at man-made borders, unfortunately, and no bounds. As part of their joint trio presidency of the Council of the European Union for 2020 and 2021, Germany, Portugal, and Slovenia are advocating particularly for clean seas, ocean and rivers, as well as nature surrounding these waters. At the same time, school classes and youth groups are called upon to collect plastic waste along the banks of rivers and streams to document the various types of the plastic waste collected at different points of a section of a river, and actively support ultimately research as part of this international citizen science campaign. Water makes up nearly 2/3 of the Earth's surface, let us not forget this, and it has an enormous impact on the stability of our climate. Due to their diversity, bodies of water around the globe are a unique habitat for flora and fauna. It may start with small rivers further inland that connect to other rivers, but they eventually reach the sea. In an example, well, the Danube, Europe's longest river, flows through a total of 10 different countries before reaching the Black Sea. In 2020 and 2021, capturing this waste on the riverbanks and near bodies of water becomes the European-wide task of the plastic pirates. On their behalf, Mr. Dennis Brennecke is joining us today, scientist at Kiel Science Factory, Germany. Mr. Brennecke, from your campaign, what are your findings regarding the skills needed both for river and marine litter prevention? You have the floor.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dennis Brennecke. I'm working as a marine biologist in the citizen science project Plastic Pirates. We think it's very important to involve the general public to prevent river and marine litter pollution. In our project, we involve school children. In Germany, we do it actually since 2016, and in 2020, the Portugal and Slovenia joined. We received since 2016 1,000 data sets from the school children. We developed a sampling booklet that's available in English, Portuguese, Slovenian, and German. You can download it for free on our project website. And we use this project to collect scientific data. The school children collected data in very small rivers and in big rivers like the Rhine or Danube. And at the same time, we are increasing the scientific literacy. We are opening science. We create environmental awareness and promote cleaner rivers. And we also hope that the school children, they reflect their own behavior. We had more than 20,000 participants since 2016. There were primary school children or also high school children. And we also had many NGOs joining us. We already analyzed some of the data sets and we could show that the rivers are an important pathway for plastic pollution. And the school children, they found on more than 90% of all sites a litter. It was mainly plastic and cigarette butts. Then the school children also tried to identify the sources for the plastic pollution, and they indicated that they were mainly recreational visitors. The school children also collected plastic inside the river. For this, we developed a sampling net here that we sent to the school children. They put the net into the river for 60 minutes and they're collecting the microplastics that are bigger than the mesh size, so bigger than 1 millimeter. And in more than 50% of the rivers, they could find microplastics. They could identify some hotspots where they found hundreds of microplastic particles in the nets. One actually was in the Danube river system in Wasserburg, where the school children collected 147 microplastic particles floating in the water. We also checked the factors influencing the distribution of litter. For example, the population density, wastewater treatment plants, dams, but we couldn't find any correlations. So the distribution is highly variable and complex. Yeah, we think that the interest of the general public and schools is very high to participate in scientific projects. We get a lot of positive feedback from the teachers, and also not only teachers from Germany and Portugal, we have also teachers from other countries that already want to join the project, for example, from Ireland, Austria, and France. But we also think that the school children, they are interested in collecting plastic along the rivers, but they don't want to stop there. They want to initiate their own campaigns, for example, organize cleanups, contact producers that are using a lot of plastic. And we want to push the project into this direction that we want to help the school children to develop these campaigns. And yeah, we would be happy if we could help to make the Black Sea blue again. Yeah, this was for me from the Plastic Pirates.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brennecke, for your contribution and for even showing us the net you have distributed to the kids, and for the very practical tasks that you are sharing with kids, pupils, students. We have approached now the third section of our webinar, and in this part we will see some project examples from the Danube and the Black Sea. And let us start with the Plastic Cup, a non-profit, non-governmental initiative that was created to eliminate the problem of waste pollution on the Tisa River. Mr. Geri Hanko, project manager and managing director of the Hungarian Association of Environmental Enterprises, join us today. Mr. Hanko, we are curious, how can a grassroots project help other countries' waste management challenges? And thank you very much for being present with us today. You have the floor.
Hi everyone, I'm Geri Hanko from the Plastic Cup. I tried to switch on my camera, but it says the host switched it off. Okay, thanks.
Now we can see you.
Okay, that's perfect. Right. Thank you so much. So I'm the managing director of the Association of Environmental Enterprises here in Hungary, and the project manager of the Plastic Cup. And fortunately, we are calling ourselves Plastic Pirates as well here in Hungary. So it's good to see there is already a network of Plastic Pirates here in Europe. So it was great to hear Mr. Brennecke's presentation. We are operating 9 years ago in the Danube and the Tisa region. And for your information, Tisa is the biggest tributary of the Danube River, and I think the most polluted one as well, because from the upstream countries, we receive 10,000s of tons of communal waste every year. So from Slovakia, Romania, and Ukraine, we receive a huge amount of waste. And we started to monitor the most polluted areas along the Tisa, and we found more than 2,800 pollutant areas. These are floodplain forests, mostly. And we started to organize the cleanup actions. And I repeat it, we found 2,800 pollutant places along the Tisa River. So we started to act on water and on land as well. We are preparing ships to clean up the river on water. And we are working with hundreds of volunteers to clean up the floodplain forests along the Tisa River. And during the monitor work, we walked along the both sides of the Tisa the whole way, more than 2,000 kilometers, to find the hotspots of the pollution. And for the biggest polluted areas, we can organize team building actions. And when we are collecting huge amount of waste, we are doing a big separation, and we are recycling the polypropylene, polyethylene waste. And we started to produce not just these recycled pans from the floating waste, but we are producing floating harbors and other useful things to show this kind of waste has a value, and everybody should recycle it and not just dump it into the nature. So this recycling and the communication work we found it extremely useful. And as you can see the poster at the back, we have movies about the life of the plastic pirates and the plastic cup in the Danube region. So we are reaching about 40 million people yearly with our messages. So I think it's a huge audience, and it's amazing to show how we are working and how we are organizing huge 2, 3, 4 day cleanup actions with 100 or 200 people. So now we are sharing our experiences in several EU projects. The biggest one is the Interreg Tidy Up project. And we are working with 10 partners from 7 countries. And it's amazing that in these countries, they are copying our methodology, how to organize the cleanup actions, how they can organize roundtable discussions, what was, I think, the biggest milestone in our history. Every year, we organize a roundtable for TISA, and we are inviting all the experts and decision makers from Hungary, Ukraine, Romania, and so on. So it's an amazing event and opportunity to meet all the key players in river cleanup life. So it's great because some of the sponsors are popping up at these events and telling us that they would like to join as a company or join as an expert to help our work. And regarding the question how a grassroots project can help other countries' waste management system, I'm a waste management expert and joined the Plastic Cup 6 years ago. And firstly I said, guys, we have to separate these floating waste streams. And now we are handling 13 different waste streams. And it was great to hear Bernard from the Waste Free Ocean. He is one of our mentors, and we discussed with him how we can recycle these waste streams. So we are handling 13 different waste streams, and we are helping our Ukrainian and Romanian partners to develop the waste management system in those regions where there is no waste management at this time. So in Transcarpathia, in Ukraine, there is more than 200 settlements without any waste management. So what we started to organize, it's a technological and the knowledge transfer for these regions. And we are collecting used machines, waste management machines from Hungary, like sorting line, baling machines, and we are providing these tools to these waste management experts in these regions, and they start to use it, and they are settling up waste collection points and waste handling points, which is amazing because all of these wastes are diverted from the nature back to the loop. So I think after 9 years now, that's the most important activities of the Plastic Cup, that we are providing tools, and we are helping with the sponsorship to these regions to starting to collect and starting to recycle. Next to it, we have several educational projects, materials, waste reduction tools, and movies. So our spectrum is extremely colorful, and yeah, we have a few dozen people at the Plastic Cup who are working 24/7, and a few hundred volunteers who are working in Hungary and in the surrounding areas to clear up the Tisza River. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hankosta will just share with us all the Plastic Cup website so we can enjoy some other activities that you are going through right now. Happy to hear that you managed to export know-how and the necessary infrastructure in terms of waste management to the regions that have not been doing it so far. And looking forward to having the pens being spread all around the world quickly, and also the floating harbors, because it's a very practical example. Thank you once again for your contribution and for the great efforts you have been putting so far. Now we move on to the next project, the Black Sea React. It aims to contribute to the regional dialogue on mitigating and effectively tackling marine pollution and marine litter, while at the same time seeking innovative solutions to salient problems. The Black Sea React is represented by the International Center for Black Sea Studies, the co-organizer of our today's conference, Mrs. Georgia Chansi, Research and Policy Development Manager from the International Center for Black Sea Studies, is here with us today, and she will explain us the background of this project. But I'm extremely curious, since a local authority, the municipality of SEArica, Istanbul, is actively involved, could you tell us which are the results of litter collection in the municipality of SEArica so far, and what are examples could you provide for the conversion of old fishing nets into useful items for the daily life? Because so far, for example, Mr. Merckx told us about the possibility of converting fishing nets into fishing nets or sea ropes back into sea ropes. But how can we transform this instruments into daily products that we use on our day-to-day life? Mrs. Chansi, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say on behalf of the co-organizers, since I have the floor now, to thank all panelists and participants to today's very timely webinar. A lot of very interesting ideas, initiatives and projects have been heard so far. And I would like also to contribute with our small-scale project, the Black Sea React. As you mentioned, it is a very small scale, as I say, project that targets pilot innovative solutions for fighting marine litter in the Black Sea. And it is co-funded by the European Union. It is coordinated by the BBSC CPMR in cooperation with ICBSS, the municipality of SEArica, as you said, in Istanbul, and a recycling factory, Gamma. And I'm happy also to say that the US consulate in Istanbul has also been part of this project and as an associated partner. The idea, as you very rightly mentioned, for this project stemmed for the fact that there are many not used old fishing nets in the sea, that they are polluting the sea, and we should do something about it. As very rightly mentioned by our previous speakers, there are solutions. There are solutions to transform them into everyday objects. What we did through this project is actually motivate and engage a municipality, the municipality of SEArica, which was very gladly participating in this project, and to collect in a half-day event actually, collect some of the marine litter of the sea, old fishing nets and some other marine waste, and then go through a process in order to transform them in everyday objects. Unfortunately, because it is a long procedure, I cannot tell you exactly how much of this waste we collected, but I have to tell you that in a half-day's event, we collected enough to produce 1,000 items. 500 of them will be t-shirts for primary school kids, and 500 will be toys. And I think this is both inspiring that there is something that we can do with the litter, but at the same time disturbing, if I may say this, that only in half days collection of marine waste, we were able to produce so many products. That means that there is a lot of marine litter out there and we should do something about it. The aim of this project, if I may add something more, is not only to motivate the policy stakeholders like the municipality, as I said, but also to engage the public, and to do so, and especially the youth, because we believe that environmental consciousness and eco-friendly practices should be adopted early on from the children. And to do so, I'm very happy that we cooperated with excellent graphic designers to produce a school kit that includes a comic book featuring an octopus, Atto, that is a hero, and through a day of his life in the sea, encounters a lot of problems due to marine litter. And we hope that this will motivate the children in an educative way to actually apply eco-friendly practices. The project envisages that this will be used, will be distributed in primary schools in the municipality of SEArica, as I said, because we use it as a pilot site. And what we are hoping for is that this will be replicated in other municipalities of the Black Sea countries, of the coast, of the other coastal municipalities of the Black Sea countries. I don't know if I have some more time to add, actually, that we, as a project, also targeted the high school children, launching an essay competition that we invited them to submit an essay with innovative ideas on how to actually tackle marine litter. And we were happy to receive 300 essays from the 13 BSC member states, and the final results will be announced next week. And a lot of ideas were heard, and we were very pleased to see that the young generation is actually motivated in taking action towards this challenge. But what is lacking, if I may say this, is that awareness and how to do it. And we heard from the previous speakers that there is lack of funding, and may I say that the transformation of all fishing nets to t-shirts, toys, shopping bags, or pens, as we saw earlier, or even benches and park tables to be used in the municipalities is a costly procedure, and it requires funding. And maybe we should also aim to support public and private partnerships towards this end. And finally, actually, to support this idea of creating synergies, the project envisages a regional stakeholders conference in early next year in Istanbul, hosted by the BSC Permis. And we will be very pleased to see all of you there, to actually have a physical meeting and create the links to be able to pursue more synergies in this field in the future. And I'm hoping that this webinar today will be the first step towards this end. Thank you again very much for moderating this event, now that I have this opportunity to thank you. And I look forward to hearing more about the other projects, because I know there are a lot of many ideas more to be heard. Thank you.
Well, as for myself, it is a huge opportunity. It's extremely interesting and diverse. On behalf of Mrs. Carmen Avram, in her capacity as VP of the SEArica Intergroup, I thank you very much for your contribution in co-organizing this event. Extremely interesting and important. Congratulations for your small scale project, because irrespective of the scale, it contributes to the same goal. And looking forward to see the book, and why not happy to spread it around other Black Sea regions.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you to Mrs. Jansi. We go on to the next project, the EU for EMBLAS. Its overall objective is to help improve protection of the Black Sea environment, while promoting capacity building, assessment of environmental status in line with the EU Marine Strategy Framework Directive and Water Framework Directive, and public awareness raising on the Black Sea environmental issues. Mrs. Maria Pokoeva, marine leader expert, is here with us today. Mrs. Pokoeva, how does this regional project connect with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations? You have the floor.
Thank you very much again for inviting me for this important event. This is my pleasure to be here and to answer your questions. And this is really amazing how many initiatives and Incredible events are going on here on the Black Sea in respect of the marine litter issue. The EU Foreign Blast project is the fourth phase actually of the joint European Union and UNDP initiative in the Black Sea region with the overall objective to improve the protection of the Black Sea environment. From the perspective of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the EU Foreign Blast project addresses primarily the Sustainable Development Goal 14, life below water, which is to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. In order to support the Sustainable Development Goal, the MBLAS project is providing data based on which necessary measures can be undertaken. The project improves the Black Sea environmental monitoring through building national capacities and introducing modern monitoring and analytical techniques to key national environmental organizations and laboratories. Now, with the project support, the countries could be able to ensure a long-term collection of the data for environmental assessment, as well as improve the quality, availability, and sharing of these marine environmental data from national and regional monitoring programs. In addition to the Sustainable Development Goal 14, the project is also tackling the Sustainable Development Goal 12, which is responsible consumption and production through the activities that are aimed at the monitoring and reduction of the marine litter, promotion of recycling, as well as raising awareness on the key environmental issues in the Black Sea Basin. The project is successfully cooperating with institutions at the national level within the Black Sea region, as well as within the European Union countries and worldwide. This cooperation is either in sharing data on implementing modern monitoring techniques or implementing local actions. In this context, MBLAS can be considered as contributing to Sustainable Development Goal 17, which is partnership for the goals. The examples of project partners could be European Commission Joint Research Center, European Environmental Agency, Black Sea Commission and its secretariat, laboratories from universities of Hamburg, Athens, Florence, Nanjing, and many others, national and regional partners.
Thank you very much, Ms. Maria Pogozeva. Indeed, monitoring is an important tool in this approach, and thank you for presenting with us your approach. Now we have one more initiative to cover. We welcome one of the 17 Black Sea Young Ambassadors under the umbrella of Horizon 2020 funded Black Sea Connect Coordination and Support Action for the promotion of the Black Sea SEArica. Since September 2020, they conduct activities to raise awareness of this unique sea in line with the Black Sea Blue Growth Initiative. The Black Sea Young Ambassadors program was officially launched by the European Commissioner Maria Gabriel last year on the occasion of the International Black Sea Day. Mrs. Gizem Akus, a PhD candidate at Middle East Technical University Institute of Marine Sciences from Turkey, is here with us today. Which is the role of young ocean professionals in order to tackle marine litter? And most importantly, how do you cooperate with your peers from other sea basins to fulfill the objectives of the different policies and initiatives? Because we have talked about the young generation extensively during our today's conference. Mrs. Akus, you have now the floor.
Thank you very much. Before I answer your question, I would like to thank you to all to give us this opportunity. As we are the 17 Black Sea Young Ambassadors, including me. We are very grateful to share our vision and aims with you. And for the answer of your question, as ocean professionals, we conduct research to gain in-depth knowledge on not only the marine litter problem, but also other nature and human-induced stressors on the Black Sea ecosystem. And we also to empower ocean-engaged citizens for clean, plastic-free, better valued Black Sea. So here I can say on top of our research, it is important to communicate our science and reaching different stakeholders to show the problem and how can be the part of the solutions. And we know that there is no cookbook which define the litter problem and its ultimate solutions for every specific region. Therefore, we all define the missing issues from the different perspectives, and we all try to be part of the solutions at the different levels. While some of us engage in the research activities, the others of us raise the issues in different platforms, like a linking catalyzer between scientists, stakeholders, the public, Black Sea itself, and with the other sea basins. For instance, our fellow Bulgarian young ambassador has studied on the microplastics and the floating litter pollution, and our Russian Black Sea ambassador tackles with the plastic problem as giving contribution to the plastic issue in the aquatic environmental book. And we, as a Black Sea youth, all together develop a campaign to raise the awareness on this issue. And in here, I want to open a parenthesis over here. We share all our activities on our social media platforms. I strongly suggest you to follow us in the Facebook, Twitter, and the Instagram. Our name is the Black Sea Youth, and I'm closing my parenthesis over here. I can say that we are both taking part in the producing knowledge in our professional areas and being part of the solution as a voice of the seas and the oceans by linking the science and public. And this is the major role that can be played to tackle with the litter problem. And as a second half of your question, I can say that, as I said, there is no cookbook to reach the ultimate solutions. But yet, luckily, we have some number of facilities. We have UN Ocean Decades Principles, Mission Starfish, and our Black Sea Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda to guide us. Young engagement is a given high priority in the Mission Starfish, UN Ocean Decade, as well as the SDGs. As young ambassadors, we get the importance of engaging and mobilizing the youth for the sustainable ocean and seas. And with this motivation, we aspire to take part in the capacity building and ocean literacy activities. And specifically on these two topics, past 2 days, we had an autumn school in which we got to meet with the BlueMed Young Ambassador and European Marine Board ambassadors who shared their campaigns and communication strategies with us. Moreover, since the last start of our Black Sea Young Ambassador program, we have been collaborating with our fellow young ambassadors from the different basins in many occasions and discuss such strategies that can be created with youth across the world. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zakus. On behalf of Ms. Karnavam, thank you very much for the constant presence of the network in the SEArica events, and definitely this network not only helps spread the word, and it's extremely important, but as we could see, makes a step forward in research, innovation, different actions and events. And thank you very much again for your contribution in our today's conference. Now we have reached the last part of our webinar, which is the reactions. And I have the honor to introduce Mrs. Roberta Zobi from DG Mare on Horizon Ocean, Seas and Water Mission and Lighthouse projects. Senior expert actually on maritime policy, research and innovation, maritime innovation, marine knowledge and investment unit, maritime policy and blue economy. Mrs. Zobi, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I'm really pleased to be here today. I would like to thank you for the invitation, but in particular, let me thank all the speakers for this really rich and inspiring event and presentations. What I would like to say is, I would like to present to you our mission restore our ocean, seas and waters. But let me first say that my, let's say, What I retain from all the presentation is the fact that there is a huge convergence of efforts around the common objective of restoring our ocean and waters. And actually, this is exactly what we need to make Mission Ocean, Seas and Water a success. We need really to bring together many different efforts, many different contributions, many different views and projects. And this is exactly how the mission was conceived. It's a new, let's say, instrument which is deeply rooted into the Horizon Europe program, but the ambition is to go beyond research and innovation activities, is to bring in many other types of initiatives and efforts to make sure that we really achieve the objective of healthy seas and waters. What we are doing in DG Mare and DG RTD, because the Mission Ocean, Seas and Water is a joint responsibility of DG Mare, we are mission managers, and also of DG Research, they are deputy mission managers. So we work together in implementing the mission. The mission was formally launched only a few months ago, on the 29th of September, and now we are preparing the first work program 2021 under Horizon Europe. And actually the first work program will be organized around 4 main basins. The Danube River Basin is one of them, together with the Atlantic and the Arctic Basin, the Baltic and North Sea Basin, and the Mediterranean Sea Basin. And of course, the mission is, took its inspiration from the report of the high-level group chaired by Mr. Lamy. As I said, we are preparing the first work program 2021. And the work program will be organized around 3 main goals, with addressing 3 main policy objectives: protect and restore the marine and freshwater ecosystem. And there will be a dedicated call under this specific area for the protection and restoration of the Danube River Basin. And then we have a second call for the prevention, elimination of pollution, with a focus on plastics and microplastics in 2021. And this call will be mostly will address the Mediterranean Basin. And then we have the sustainable, carbon neutral and circular blue economy call for addressing the Baltic and North Sea. So there is this combination between policy objectives and geographical areas, but these will not prevent any organization from any member states to be involved in any of the projects that will be submitted under the different calls. Actually, we went also beyond the participation of all member states in all different calls by introducing a new concept, which is the concept of associated regions. It's a sort of mandatory requirement for all projects. We would like to see the involvement of at least 5 associated regions as third parties, where outcomes of these projects can be showcased, can be scaled up. So the idea is to really involve regions and municipalities that would like to test and take up innovative solutions that have been developed under the different projects. And then I heard a lot about citizens' engagement, about the role of the young generation, and we are also taking care of these aspects in the mission. And actually we have foreseen 3 topics addressing respectively the expectations of the young generation in relation to the sea. It's a foresight study. We would like to really understand how the young generation, the cultural and emotional relations of the young generation with the sea. I think this is projects under this topic could provide us with insights in relation to future policy developments. We want to bring forward the Plastic Pirates initiative, and there will be a topic supporting the spreading all across Europe of this important initiative. And there will be also a topic addressing citizen engagement and citizen science to bring forward the contribution of the citizens in relation to the challenges we have ahead. And then there will be a cross-cutting call for the main focus of this call will be on the development of the digital knowledge system. So we will invest resources for the development of the digital twin ocean. The work program 2021 will be adopted by the end of the year in December, and immediately after the calls will be issued. So I remain available for any further information you want to have concerning the first work program. But let me say that we really need your efforts to make sure that Mission Ocean Seas and Waters become a success. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Roberta Zobi, thank you very much. And on behalf of Mrs. Carmen Avram, please accept her words of gratitude for taking your time to be present in our conference today. Your message has been duly noted, especially the one regarding the associated regions as a mandatory requirement in order to take up the innovative solutions and to spread them around the basin. And indeed, you're right. If we are to sum up this event, we can see a huge convergence of efforts because it's been really, really full of substance around this issue. Thank you very much for your presence. Yeah. Coming up next is Mr. Michael Georgios Papadayannakis, Senior Expert in Marine Environment and Water Industry Unit, DGM, on behalf of the European Commission. Mr. Papadayannakis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank first the organizers, of course, but also all the speakers who provided their valuable input from their everyday work on marine litter. Myself, I'm working in DG Environment in the European Commission, in the unit in charge of the protection of the marine environment and also of the collaboration with the regional sea conventions around Europe, including the Bucharest Convention, of course. Although the European Union is not a contracting part of this convention, we continue to collaborate. We put a lot of emphasis on our collaboration with this convention, and we do support it in several ways. And this is so because our interest and the interest of the European Union and the Commission in a high quality and good health Black Sea marine and coastal environment is very high. Of course, this concerns also marine litter, and this is illustrated by a number of projects. We heard today about EMBLAS, we heard about the Black Sea Commission collaboration with the Barcelona Convention, which is also supported by the European Union. There are many other projects like Mar Litter, dealing specifically with marine litter in the Black Sea. As I said, we remain committed to the goal of EU accession to the Bucharest Convention, and we are firmly convinced and confident that this will foster coordinated implementation of marine environment policies in the European Union, but also in the other Black Sea countries, and such policies, of course, are the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. And we are also confident that such an accession will promote sustainable blue growth in the Black Sea. And as I said, the links are already quite strong, but there is room for further strengthening. We heard earlier today Professor Sahioglu talking about the Common Maritime Agenda and the Strategic Research and Innovation Initiative. And I think there is room for stronger collaboration with the technical groups of the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, like the Technical Group on Marine Litter, for example, on the harmonization of methodologies for monitoring and assessing marine litter quantities and impact. Another very important initiative at EU level concerning marine litter is the Zero Pollution Action Plan adopted recently. And you're probably aware that this action plan illustrates and demonstrates the EU ambition, which concerns also, of course, the Black Sea, for marine litter reduction by 50% and for microplastics reduction by 30%, and all this until 2030. You also probably know that in the European Union, we now have a threshold for the quantity of marine litter on beaches, and this is 20 litter item per 100 meters of coastline. Now, you may think that this is a very ambitious and very difficult target to achieve. It is ambitious, but it is also realistic, and we think that it is within the reach of the Black Sea countries, not only the EU Black Sea countries like Bulgaria and Romania, but also the other countries. It is feasible and within the reach if they exploit all the possibilities that exist now with the European Green Deal, with the new regional funds like the Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund, but also other regional funds which are accessible also to non-EU countries. And my last point here concerns the Danube River, and we heard earlier today the contribution from the International Commission for the Protection of Danube River. And I would really like to thank this commission for their contribution and for their commitment in protecting also the Black Sea, as was highlighted today. And I think this is an example of collaboration and of interaction between the River Commission and the receiving marine region. And we do thank and congratulate ICPDR for this, and the Black Sea Commission, of course, for this collaboration. And we encourage this type of collaboration in the other marine regions and in the other rivers of Europe. So this is all for the time being, and thanks again for the invitation, and good luck to everybody for their efforts to address marine litter in the Black Sea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Papagiannakis, on behalf of the organizing team, and on behalf of Mrs. Karin Abram for your presence and for pointing out the Zero Pollution Action Plan and its subsequent targets of reduction of the marine litter by 50% of the microplastics by 30% by 2030, and pointing out the regional funds. Thank you very much. Now from the European Commission, from DG NEAR, is joining us Mrs. Mihaela Hauth, Team Leader, Sector Connectivity, Energy Efficiency, Environment and Climate Change, Neighborhood, East and Institution Building, Georgia, Moldova Economic Investment Plan Unit. Thank you very much for your presence, Madam Hauth. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. Maybe first to explain a bit what we're doing, because the title in the agenda is maybe a bit confusing. So I'm the team leader for, in short, green and connectivity for all the Eastern partner countries. So that would be Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Moldova, Belarus, and Ukraine. What I would like to outline a bit here today is what we're doing with the Eastern partner countries in terms of environmental and climate resilience, obviously focusing on the topic of today's discussion on marine litter. You have already heard beforehand about our M+ projects. Maria already told you about the objectives and achievements. I will refer to a few more details about that later on, but I wanted to start off about our priorities for the future of the Eastern Partnership for our so-called post-2020 agenda. What are we trying to achieve? What are our priorities for cooperation with our Eastern partner countries? So I'm obviously only going to focus on the aspect on environmental and climate resilience. And one of the priorities going forward is, of course, the preservation of the marine ecosystem. Also very much related to what we've been hearing today, the importance of improving waste management in the Eastern partner countries, because this remains to be a key problematic issues of standards of landfills not being in line with European standards, no recycling in place. So this is something which will continue to be one of our challenges moving forward. Within this framework, we will also be looking at the concept of circular economy. We have already a project in place on that. I will mention that a bit later. Because as we heard from previous speakers, going forward, we really need to move to the whole circular economy, which can then also reduce the amount of marine litter we have. Then going forward, we will also continue to work with the maritime administrations around the Black Sea to strengthen them, to do capacity building, but also to foster further alignment with EU legislation, with the EU acquis. And then we heard also today about the importance, obviously, of the rivers going into the Black Sea, for instance. So we have been quite successful already on river basin management, but this is also an area we will continue to work on to monitor it, but also generally to reduce the environmental impact there. I already mentioned the M+ project. Maria mentioned it before in more detail. So I just wanted to stress there, what is really important about this project is that we're collecting a lot of data for the purpose of evidence-based policies. This is something we do not only in the area of environment, but more generally in our work with Eastern partner countries in all policy fields and sectors, that collecting the evidence for evidence-based policies to have sound policy making is really key. So you really need to have the data, you need to have the figures in order to have proper policies in place. So M+ is key in that regard. Just to complement from what was said before, we were also, the purpose of the project was to, and is, because we're in the phase 4, to have a better knowledge of the environmental status of the Black Sea. We have worked on a whole list of pollutants, more than 65,000 chemical substances were screened within the process. And obviously what we've also been doing within the framework of this project, and it was mentioned within the 4 other projects here, obviously beach cleanups. So for instance, this year in Ukraine, we collected 38 tons of waste. I already mentioned beforehand a number of our projects which are not directly related to marine litter, but which I think are very important because they will help us address some issues which contribute to marine litter as a whole, waste management pollution. So we have a big program which is called EU for Environment, where we are looking at, for instance, circular economy, but we're also looking at greening SMEs. We're also looking at green growth indicators, policies for green economy in general, resource efficient and cleaner production. So we've had a number of webinars there, which are obviously of key importance again for SMEs. So we're really working there with the economy on the ground. So in my view, this project is also key to help address the issue we were talking about today. We also have another program, EU for Climate, which is not directly related, but it shows our commitment to work together with our Eastern partners on environmental and climate resilience and to address as many sustainable development goals as possible. This was also a question which was raised beforehand. And so I just wanted to say more generally, what we do is that we help also our Eastern partner countries to mainstream, to put the sustainable development goals into the policy, to put them into their sectoral strategies, and basically to align themselves. So we have done that with a number of countries. I used to work on Georgia beforehand in all areas, and this is an area we've been working together with the colleagues from Georgia. Then finally, just a bit of more anecdotal evidence of what we have been doing, what could be interesting here. So also under the EU for M+ project, there was actually something which has happened very recently, namely Belgium donated a vessel to Ukraine. And this vessel was physically transferred from the North Sea through the Mediterranean to the Black Sea to Ukraine, to Odessa finally. And the purpose of this vessel is to basically collect data. So it's a swimming lab, basically. So also on its route to go from Belgium all the way to Ukraine, to Odessa, we have collected a lot of data, which has been analyzed along the way, and we have documented that. So this is really a very concrete example of what we have been doing, and we're really hopeful that this vessel will help Ukraine to continue monitoring what's happening in the Black Sea, and yeah, we look forward for fruitful cooperation there. And the final one, because also today we talked a lot about public participation and the importance of students, pupils, schools, but the general public working with us. And there also a nice little story from what we're doing under EU for M+. We have also developed, the project has developed a mobile application which people can use, and it helps them to identify, take pictures, and report on so-called sentinel species on the shores, in the sea, to basically check the environmental status. So for instance, if you look at mollusks, so the so-called angel wings, if they're present, for instance, in the Black Sea or somewhere else, it basically demonstrates that there's a good environmental status. So for us also, public participation is key. And my very last point, to respond to a question which was raised, I think at the very end of the first session, access to finance, which is indeed in the UN issue, but also in Eastern partner countries. So also as part of what we're doing with partner countries, we have just published in July an economic and investment plan for the Eastern partner countries, which obviously will address very many issues, starting from transport connectivity, digital connectivity, but also it will be working on circular economy, for instance, sustainable agriculture, etc., and supporting SMEs overall, and providing access to finance to SMEs, also for riskier, more innovative projects. So also from our side, working through international financial institutions in partner countries, we also aim to support them these bottom-up approaches. So more innovative solutions can be found, more new innovative projects can appear to address the issue of circular economy or marine litter. And that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Haupt. Thank you very much for your contribution, for the examples, in general for your work within the unit in relation to the Eastern partner countries. For Ms. Avram, reciprocity is definitely a red line of her term, and I think it is something we should all be looking up to. Thank you again for your availability. Looking forward to staying in touch. Since we are running out of time, let us jump in Romania and go straight forward to Mrs. Laura Bobognac, Head of Unit of the Directorate Managing Authority, European Territorial Cooperation Programs, Ministry of Development, Public Works and Administration. Mrs. Bobognac, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Managing Authority for the Black Sea Basin Program, I am glad to extend my greetings to all the professionals in the marine litter field, and I am very happy to meet, even only in this virtual environment, some of our stakeholders and our beneficiaries. I'm sure that most of you are very familiar with the Black Sea Basin Program, which is an important tool not only from the cross-border cooperation perspective, but also for tackling the environmental protection aspect, and in particular the marine litter issue. Of course, it is very well acknowledged by now. It was underlined several times previously that marine litter has become a global challenge and derives from the land and sea-based human activities, mainly caused by poor waste management and infrastructure, or even from people's behavior. Thus, prevention at source through the creation of a proper waste collection and treatment, together with the improved human behavior, are key to reduce litter inputs, to protect the on-land and water environment, and to secure the recovery of the resources after their disposal. Particularly speaking about the Black Sea and its coastal and marine ecosystems, they are at risk as unsustainable past and existing maritime and coastal and terrestrial activities have a direct impact. One of the main important challenges at the basin level is to ensure environmental protection and sustainability in the exploitation of coastal and marine resources across the Black Sea, to tackle the main sources of pollution in the sea, and to improve the waste management systems, to prevent pollution from waste generation, and to reduce the marine litter. The Black Sea Basin programs, both financed up to now for the programming period 2007-2013 and 2014 and 2020, have already financed projects in the field of environment, like improving joint environmental monitoring, and also promoting common awareness raising and joint actions to reduce river and marine litter. When preparing the Black Sea Basin program for 2014 and 2020 and carrying out the territorial analysis, it was noted once again that litter originating from shipping from land or rivers within the Black Sea Basin results in a visible pollution along the rivers and coasts and in the sea itself. And it is a joint transboundary problem because the sea, the Black Sea, has a very dynamic current systems which result in the transportation of any matter from a given location in the Black Sea to almost any coastal area. It has a major impact on the people's welfare and also on the economic activities, and it often harms or kills the marine life and threatens the biodiversity of the Black Sea. Only a direct mobilization of the local and regional stakeholders and the enhancement of responsible citizenship would have a strong effect on reducing this kind of pollution. Currently, 24 projects in the field of environment are financed by the Black Sea Basin Program 2014 and 2020, out of which at least 17 tackles the issue of marine litter. I'm very sorry that we do not have enough time during this event to run a video which has been prepared by the managing authority and has been released recently, but I encourage you to watch it on our website and to find out more about the projects financed by this program, acting in the environmental field and especially tackling the marine litter issue. Of course, the link will be provided in chat soon after my intervention. As we are in the preparation phase of the next Black Sea Basin program for the 2021 and 2027, I can say that the circumstances analyzed several years ago in 2013, 2014 are found to be still valid. Regarding the environment and the pollution and marine litter in the Black Sea Basin. Therefore, the next program will concentrate again on the environmental aspects. A second reason is, of course, that the projects already financed present as well a great potential for capitalization, and their results can be taken up and upscaled. The Interreg next Black Sea Basin program will focus on two main goals, which are a bluer and smarter region and of course a greener and cleaner region. Under the priority of creating a greener and cleaner region, one of the specific objectives will be to enhance the protection and preservation of nature, biodiversity and green infrastructure, including in urban areas, and to reduce all form of pollution. Under this field of intervention, actions for pollutants reduction as well as marine and river litter reduction, collecting and recycle will be financed. Of course, these proposed fields of actions will contribute as well to the goals of the Common Maritime Agenda, which supports reducing the marine litter production and marine pollutions. And to give you some concrete examples of actions that will be possible to be implemented under the future program are raising activities for raising awareness among public authorities and citizens on marine environmental issues and the impact of human activities on marine ecosystems, encouraging joint projects on marine environmental protection, development of curricula for all educational levels regarding the prevention and response to pollution, promoting the practice of marine litter harvesting and recycling, or supporting research on the challenges related to emerging pollutants and litter. That would be all from my side at this stage. Of course, more information about the next program are published on our website. I encourage all the stakeholders to check regularly the website and also to participate in the public consultations that we launched regarding the preparation of next program. And of course, keep an eye on us regarding the future calls for proposals which are about to be launched next year. Thank you very much for the opportunity once again.
Mrs. Bobognak, on behalf of Mrs. Kaganavgan, thank you very much for your availability. Mrs. Dana Onofre has already posted the source of the video prepared by the managing authority that you have mentioned in your presentation. And it's been really interesting to see the Romanian approach and to find out yet another characteristic of the Black Sea, namely its dynamic, the very dynamic nature of the currents, which basically transport the waste all around the coastline. Thank you very much for your contribution. Now we are heading straight to Mr. Balaj Horvat, EU Strategy for Danube Region, Priority Area 4 Water Quality Coordinator, coming from the General Director of the Water Management from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade in Hungary. The floor is yours, sir. You have the honor to close this fourth section of reactions of our today's conference.
Yes, thank you very much for the floor. As it was mentioned, I work for the EU Danube Region Strategy, which is one of the 4 macro-regional strategies of the EU, and it works for the prosperity of the Danube region along 11 priorities, and one of the priorities is water quality. And ensuring water quality needs us, of course, very importantly, that hazardous substances and emerging substances are not in our waters, in our rivers, in our lakes. So we are, our main activity is to try to establish transnational projects in this respect, to support monitoring, to support civil action, support all kinds of activities along this. And also we prepared a best practice document, which is available among the documents of this meeting. So please take a look. And I have some messages to you. And if I know well, Ms. Avram comes also from the Tisa Basin. And when she maybe walks along the Bistra River, which ends up in the Tisa and finally in the Danube, maybe recognizes that this is a real problem. The plastic pollution is a real problem in the area. As it was mentioned previously, in the plastic cup and in the Tidia projects. There is abundant waste plastic along the shores of the rivers, and the floods are bringing down the rivers those plastic items and put in other hotspots along the river. So what I want to emphasize here, this is not only a marine problem, this is also a freshwater problem. And as the UNEP Global Assessment of Marine Litter and Plastic Pollution says, main source of the marine litter is land-based. So it's very important to join forces and merge the initiatives of freshwater and marine plastic pollution. There are still a lot of data gaps, and also many methodologies are used. The harmonization of the methodologies is still to come, but I would like to report that there is already experience of monitoring methodologies in the region, which could be used in international and EU initiatives. So, for example, in the new drinking water directive, in the recast, there are plans that until 2024 there will be a standardized methodology on microplastic monitoring, and we heard about the UNEP monitoring guidelines on plastics. So all these initiatives should be brought together and use the existing experience in the macro regions. Now the next issue is that I have all the sympathy, and it's very good that a lot of people are working now for collecting the waste, but I think we should work mostly towards the prevention of leaving the waste in the rivers. So it is important to see that it's not only a water management problem, but it's a waste management problem. And in this respect, several non-EU countries are in the Danube basin, and those, and maybe some new member states as well, are a bit lagging behind in waste management. And this needs investment. This needs investment in the region and access to the EU funds in this respect. So for us, it's very important to be able to establish new common projects, new international projects, new macro-regional projects, in order that the existing experience is brought to the new non-EU countries, and also the investments are right in the place, and therefore we can prevent the abandonment of waste. Another important issue of the prevention is to consider the whole life cycle of these plastic items. And this brings me to talk about the producer's behavior and the consumer's behavior, the citizens' behavior. I think, and I'm sure there are already instruments in the EU, like the Single-Use Plastics Directive, and in the new EU Green Deal also, the circular economy was several times mentioned today, and there is the Zero Pollution Initiative. So all this should be implemented, and I really ask the EU to keep a good eye on the implementation of these. In this way, we can change probably the producer's behavior, and with the consumer's behavior, raising awareness. We are trying to do this. We would need help, assistance in this, and it's very nice to see there are a lot of initiatives, but they should grow in line with each other. So in summary, it's just three main messages of mine. Please link freshwater and marine issues, actions, activities together. The second, please empower mainly the non-EU countries, but also EU countries, with the resources to invest in water and waste management and into international projects. And the third thing, change behavior, go to circular economy, and raise awareness of the people of all these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Balázs Horváth. Yes, indeed, Mrs. Avram is well aware of the specificities of the Tisza River. And unfortunately, the problems the river poses not only to the river ecosystem, but also to human lives because of the floods. And prevention, of course, it is important. This is why the event dedicated a considerable amount of time to this side of the problem as well. Thank you very much for your message, for concluding this fourth panel of our conference today. We jump now into the open discussions, and I will briefly give the floor, because we are running extremely out of time, to the first speaker who would like to have a short intervention, Dr. George Triandafilidis, research fellow, hydrobiologist, senior expert from the Hellenic Center for Marine Research, the Institute for Oceanography. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm George Triandafilidis. I'm a research fellow in the Hellenic Center for Marine Research, and I'm the project manager of the CLAIM project, which brings some good news to you, although it is focusing on the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. We believe we have developed some solutions that are very well applicable to, not only to the Black Sea region, but all over Europe and the world. So this is a joint effort of 21 partners in order to tackle the plastic pollution problem. And of course, you can see here our objectives that includes the provision of innovative technologies to reduce the amount and impact of plastic pollution. And we set the basis for operational forecasting of the impacts of marine plastic litter pollution. And that means modeling work that I'm very happy to share with you that in a new project that is coordinated by Dr. Baris Alihoğlu, the Bridge Black Sea, we will apply it now to the Black Sea region. So in this slide, I'm presenting very briefly the technologies and the knowledge and forecasting tools and methods that we developed in the CLAIM project. So we have developed a photocatalytic device that is using plastic degrading nano coatings to harness the sun's radiation and help rid the oceans of microplastic contamination. I'll open a parenthesis. Everybody stated that the rivers are the major source of pollution. We all know that now. So our CLAIM project is developing and demonstrating cost-efficient cleaning methods for macroliter and microliter, microplastics especially, as near as possible to the major input sources, and that is the rivers and the wastewater treatment plants. So the first two here, the wastewater, the photocatalytic device and the pre-filtering device, are specific tools that are installed in wastewater treatment plants and can withhold and completely dissolve microplastics. And then for the rivers, we have developed this clean trash system here, which is a marine device manufactured for cleaning and preventing visible litter. Mr. Horvath discussed a lot about prevention, and so this is the device for you in order to prevent additional amounts of litter to enter into the marine environment every year.
Excuse me for interrupting you, Mr. Triandafilidis. Unfortunately, we are really running out of time, and we were not supposed to use PowerPoint presentations. I just want to ask you to briefly...
I thought I had my 4 minutes, but I will very briefly present them to you. So these are the technologies that we have for the wastewater treatment plants. And this is the clean trash system that I mentioned. But of course, we have also developed modeling tools in order to identify the hotspot areas and many more that you can see in our project website. So I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present you our project, and we can be in touch. Thank you very much.
Of course, Of course, thank you very much, and sorry for having to wrap everything up because we are running out of time. But it'd be better if we could share your presentation. Why not in the chat so that all the participants can go through it and follow it. And I think we have one more intervention, if I am not wrong. It's Mr. Gvilava.
Yes, thank you. My name is Mamuka Gvilava. I'm a national focal point for ICZM from Georgia, and I would like to share with you my experience and probably some lesson for the future activities in marine litter. Here's the project funded actually nicely by the European Cross-Border Cooperation Black Sea Basin Program. Ms. Laura Babincic described this program, and let me share with you some taste of how this project looks like. I'm shared the project webpage. So we developed the Marine Litter Watch portal, which is very good replica of the European Environmental Agency's Marine Litter Watch program. So we really modeled our approaches with this Europe and global-wide the database of Marine Litter Watch. We also developed the eco-education package, and you can see much more about this project in the YouTube link I provided with the unfortunately online event we held within the program. And we benefited very much by the participation from EEA and also the CPMR. Mr. Stavros Kalobromos was very much welcome on our meeting. And actually, so I would like to share with you some of the lessons we learned. First thing is that we relied the monitoring program on the OSPARCOM guidelines. You see, these things are global and cross-European. So it was very good news that the Black Sea Commission adopted the guidelines from Mediterranean, which was based on the OSPARCOM again. So our project was well designed. We were very happy with this. And there is a very good the lesson in the Black Sea's version of the marine litter monitoring guideline. If you look into this document, which still needs approval by the Black Sea Commission, I hope Black Sea Commission will act sooner than later. And one thing is that there is 200 items in the OSPARCOM guidelines, but Black Sea proposed shorter version also. I have to be frank, we never managed to, we found all those 200 items, but we were not able to monitor 200 items during the counts. So this approach by the Black Sea Commission is a very pragmatic. Let's monitor 200 and not 200, but 20 items, and critical is of course the plastic. It was 95% of the all brands of the plastic bottles. That's where we need to start. And actually we were kind of rewriting the guidelines. If you look into the OSPARCOM guideline, it says from 100 meters to 2 kilometers you have to monitor. I'm sorry, but in the Black Sea, 10-meter beach, wide beach, not along the beach, was enough to really exhaust your capacity to monitor the beaches. So therefore, and I'm coming from the coastal management field, and it was a really great opportunity that this European program was funding marine litter action. And to me, this is the highest priority coastal management issue. And actually, I'm a little bit old now, and I remember when this thing was called the beach litter. Of course, marine litter gives you the wider context. Today I have heard even the riverine marine litter, which is the correct one. But let's stick to the beach litter, and let's treat the beach litter counts as an indicator of our success, both the management of the coast and catchments and the sea, and all those items which are in SEArica's name, the seas, river catchments, and the coasts. So we need to concentrate our efforts and keep the focus. If we cannot manage the beach litter, we can hardly manage anything in our oceans, catchments, and the coasts. Therefore, I would very much urge everybody to keep marine litter in the focus of the next fundings for this European program and many other programs. We have a very serious issue. And I would like to kind of bring some optimistic note. I'm not that old. I remember when our coast on the Black Sea coast of Georgia were free of litter. It was a different consumption pattern, but this also means that if you have one person who remembers how clean the beaches were, at least from the litter, then we can, I hope, reverse it back. Of course, it's much better to create a problem, and it's much more difficult to solve the problem. But this is most visible problem. We have to put this as a priority. Beach litter is an indicator of how well we manage our coasts, oceans, and the catchments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bilava. We have approached the end of our conference today. It's been extremely interesting, and the valuable insights are uncontestable. Sorry for the time delays. Mrs. Avram would like to thank once again to all the active participants as well as the attendees. She can't wait to see you all very soon. And let me just pass her words of gratitude to the organization team for such a great conference. On my behalf, it's been an honor. Have a great rest of the day and stay safe. Bye.